So if you watched my real talk, you already know what we're here for today. But today's episode is going to be on grief. This is, like I said in the real talk, going to be a challenge for me. So just bear with me. It's a vulnerable, real conversation. So I'm just going to jump right into it. When looking at my grief journey, I was watching a documentary, Meg Thee Stallion. I don't know if you all saw that documentary. I really recommend you watching it. It is so good. Not even from looking at it at a grief standpoint, but just in general, like knowing her as an artist and knowing the story behind the artist, I really loved it. But as we all know, Meg also lost her mother at the age of, I think she was in her early 20s as well. And I resonated so much with her story because not only did she lose her mom, but she lost her dad at a younger age too. She lost her dad in high school. And I never mentioned my father on the podcast, but I also lost my dad at an early age as well. So that tied into her story as well. So that stood out to me too. But Meg, when you watch her documentary, it starts out and she's about to graduate from college, which is like a big moment for her. She's about to cross the stage. And everyone around her is so excited. Like they're pumping her up. She's getting her hair and makeup done and she looks beautiful. And she gets her degree and she's like all excited. And she comes back and the reality of the situation still exists. But everyone around her is so excited. And you could kind of see that she's like excited to be in that moment, but something is missing. And that's how she started to talk about her mom. And that stood out to me because I feel like that is my exact feeling in life. Like I'll be in a moment, I'll be excited. And then it's just like this constant reminder of like the one person that I would want to share this moment with and like where I'm at right now, they're not there. Like you aren't able to share that moment with them. So that really stood out to me when I was watching her documentary. And when she talks about her mother's relationship, it's just so powerful because at one point she was like, my mom was just not my mom. Like that was my best friend. Like that's your compass in life, you know? And when she talks about losing that, you're talking about someone who's in a public eye, who has to show up daily. Like we see Meg Thee Stallion, you know, we're like, where's the music? Where's this? And she felt like she had to keep going. She had to keep going. But at some point in time, that grief, you just feel like one day you wake up and you can't fake it anymore. You can't smile anymore. You can't just show up anymore. And I think just seeing her in that moment and seeing her for that person, also I related to her because I think at a certain point in life, you just have to be like, it's okay to not be okay. And you have to be honest about not being okay. And I would say for her, our grief process was a little different because she didn't really have a time to really process it. Her mom just went into the hospital and then she was sick. It was like a really fast process. But for me, my mom was sick. She had cancer. And I remember at one point they had only given her, I don't remember if it was 2 days or 2 weeks to live, but it was a very sudden timeline. And we didn't know. I think that was like at the beginning of when we found out that she had cancer. And she ended up living longer than that. I think when they gave her that final notice, she lived maybe even a year after that. But I think for me personally, my grieving process started when someone told me that I was going to lose my mom in 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever it was. And I think that for the people around me, my grieving process looked different. It was moments of anger. It was moments of misunderstanding. And I just feel like right at the time when my mom passed, I had already been through this whole emotion of anger. So let me talk about where that anger came from. So my mom got married when I was in college. She had got married. I talked about it on my Real Talk. So I think for this episode, it's going to help if you guys go back and listen to my first Real Talk. I kind of talk about the dynamic of my stepdad and kind of how I feel, how that played a part in things. So I'm going to touch on it now, but I go into depth more in that video. So I would suggest you go back and watch it. The first Real Talk that I ever did. But me and my stepfather, he had this protection over my mom, but I think he often protected her from things she didn't need protection from. And what she actually needed protection from was himself. But he was very protective over her, which actually was control. And he kept her family away from her. And if you know anything about my mom, there was like 3 things that brought her life: church, me as her daughter, and family in general. Like those 3 things is what kept her aligned. Like my mom cooked Sunday dinner every Sunday for my family. Like it was Thanksgiving every Sunday, not because she felt obligated. That's what brought her joy. That's what brought her happiness. So when she got married, her husband moved her away from a street that my whole family lived on. It was like, I believe there was 4 houses on that street that my family shared. And we did everything together. When she got married, he changed the dynamic completely of the family, isolated her, took her to another part of town. It was just them. He didn't like people coming over. We could no longer just stop by. My mom was like, had this open door policy. So if you was hungry, you could come in and eat. If you needed a place, like she was just that type of person for the family. So when she got married, the dynamics changed with everyone around her, everyone, and including me, her only child. And I think that when you talk about grief and you're talking about someone who was raised by a single mom, I remember I had a family member, actually my grandma, she told someone that she believes that I feel like my mom's death was just about me. And it's like, no, but yes. Like no one is affected the way that I am affected because I'm losing my mom. Like my grandmom has other children. You have other daughters. Like you're gonna, but like her child, like it's just a little different. So I feel like, in going back to what I'm saying, during that process of her passing away and her getting weaker and having those last days, I wasn't able to spend that time with my mom the way I would have liked to because her husband was too busy worrying about financial things that was going to happen after. So if he kept my mom away from me, we wouldn't have these conversations of what's going to happen after and where money is going to be allocated to. We weren't able to have those moments. And I think that was very strategic in keeping me away and keeping the reality away from my mom that she was going to leave me in this world by myself. And just to give you an example of what I'm saying, like her husband drove a 1996 Crown Vic. 2 weeks after my mom passed, he got a brand new 2019 Chevy truck. So that's what I mean when things are strategically placed to have an outcome that benefited one person and to kind of alienate and leave the other person to the side. But I say that to say during this process, before my mom even passed away, I had so much anger built up inside of me that I don't think I was understood properly. And I think the way that I was acting out, because I felt like nobody was advocating for me, that everybody kind of saw the effect of what was happening, but no one, like people would talk about it like, why is he doing this to you? Why is he doing that? But nobody would like, and I'm thinking of adults at the time, because yes, I'm 20, but I'm thinking about 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, my aunts, people that I grew up with. Nobody was kind of coming to like and saying like to my defense almost and saying, why is this being done? I don't understand why this is being done to her. And I think over time, that anger just kept building up. So at the time of grief, when I actually lost my mom and when the death actually took place, I wasn't overwhelmed with this sadness because I was already going through that process. I already had to live without my mom while she was still here because I was being alienated and I was being pushed away from her. So I think my grieving process is a little different. And even at the funeral, I remember I was sitting there and it was just me and my stepdad on the front row. So I hadn't talked to him. We've been like at odds. He had called the police on me at one point because I just showed up to my mom's house because I'm like, you're not going to keep me from my mom. And he called the police on me. So like just giving you a background to like our relationship. And we're both sitting on the front row at my mom's funeral and she's just like in the casket and we're just sitting there. And I think that on the outside looking in, I looked like the bad daughter because I wasn't around everyone, and I started to like alienate myself because I felt so alone already and misunderstood. So when we were at the funeral, they did a standing ovation for my mom's husband for being such a great husband, being so supportive through this process and taking care of her. And I remember just sitting there just like, wow. Like the irony of this moment, the person who I feel took her lifeline away from her, and if people really understood the control and what was being done, and the irony that you guys are clapping for this man and saying that he is the best husband ever, I believe that's what really sparked my anger. And I remember telling someone, my cousin that I was really close with at the time, she wasn't able to come to the funeral. And I think that that was like a good thing almost, because I told her, like, when we bury my mom and when it's all said and done and her body goes down, I'm going to turn to that man and I'm going to, I think I said like punch him in the face or something. And I know she would have been the person to like egg me on and to make sure that happened, because that's the level of anger I was at. And I feel like everything was out of my control. And I was just trying to hold this respect for my mom. But I think that's another part of my grief. I felt like after my mom passed, I didn't have anybody to hold me to a standard. And I was just like, now I'm going to display this anger in this way. I'm going to act out in this way because I don't have this person to kind of guide me anymore. I don't have this person to hold me accountable. Because if you think about your parent, that's kind of what they do. They are the ones that raised you. They know what you're supposed to be doing in life. And so when I lost that, I felt like all bets are off for everybody. Like, I'm going to be the person that you guys have painted me out to be. And that turned me into what grief turned me into in 2018 to 2019, I say, was a person that I never knew I could be. And I'm not proud of that person looking back, because I was just so, like, even when I think about relationships and I never had a quote unquote hoe phase in life, but I feel like, go back to Kalani's dad, we had this whole college relationship. That was after that. And I remember what happened the night that my mom passed. My ex came. So all this stuff compiled. So now I'm single. I haven't been single in a while. I've always had these real relationships with people, these like meaningful, lifelong, like supposed to be my husband relationships. I don't have that anymore. I lost my mom. It turned me into a person that was like a rebel, or like I could do what I want because who gonna check me? So I remember like because I was grieving, I wasn't eating. So I was like drinking and smoking all the time. So I lost weight in like 2 weeks. This is in my 20s now. So I dropped weight. This was the smallest I had ever been. I literally started to become so hypersexual. Like, I remember just like having this like sexual, like, but when I think back to it, I was looking for some type of love or some type of attention. And I did not even recognize myself at one point. Like, I remember just doing stuff just to do it and looking for some type of, like I said, attention, affection. So I think like when grief isn't properly, when you don't properly sit down and deal with the root of things, I found it just leading into things that just wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't anything. I was around people that I didn't need to be around, just anybody who was willing to accept me. So I have friends that weren't really my friends. They're probably using me, probably just having me around for the money or different things like that. So my grieving process just was really hard at first because I think when you talk about grief, right, like you think, okay, I'm going to be with my family. My family is going to get me through this, my support system. But my grieving process was with everyone but my family. And I think, like I said, it was due to just like, I had lost trust in my family. And I found myself having to make my own support system with people who weren't in my family. And it was hard because at the time I was living like I said, on the street with my family. So I had like an aunt over here, and an aunt next door to me. But it often at times felt like during the process, everyone was like wanting to be around me, because like I said, they thought I had came into all this money when they realized that what I said was actually happening. I didn't get anything after my mom passed other than like $5,000, I would say, which I owed people at the time because I wasn't working. I kept calling out for bereavement. So I still had to pay bills. So like when that money came to me, it was like nothing already. So I think that my family didn't understand that. I was mad that my mom had passed away. Like I said, this guy's pulling up in a new car. He gave all his grandkids all this money. He furnished his granddaughter's house off of my mom's. Like he was taking care of his family off of my mom passing away. And I remember his granddaughter was friends with someone that I knew. And she was like, oh yeah, my friend said to me that her grandfather bought all this furniture because some lady died. And I was like, she didn't even know that it was her grandfather's wife. Some lady died and she just got all this stuff and was given all these things. And it was just like, no, that lady was my mom and you guys are benefiting off of her passing away and you're being taken care of. But her daughter and her granddaughter is basically out here just assed out, basically, like with no one to take care of them, with no one. So like, as you guys can see, I'm still I think this is when we talk about healing. Healing is such a lifelong process because we're still human. And when things come up, it still affects you as if it just happened yesterday. No matter how far you come from that day, when those emotions come up and that rawness comes up, like it's okay you can say that you're healed, but it's okay to still have those emotions and to still have those feelings. So I think that grief is so important to talk about because, like I said, if it's not talked about, if you don't deal with the root of things, if you're not honest with yourself about where you are in that moment, it could be very detrimental to your character, to who you are as a person. And if you don't have the right people around you who are pouring into you, who are checking on you, who are really trying to understand where you are and help you through that, I think that's where grief can take a good turn or a bad turn, right? Like if you have the proper support system and people are understanding where you are. Like I remember one part when I was talking about, I went to a mental hospital, right? And I remember my cousin and my aunt came to the mental hospital and they literally like came there and I'm just sitting and whatever they had on me. And I remember sitting at the table and I was numb and I wasn't talking. And they just literally stared at me like they went to the zoo to look at an animal behind the glass. Like I remember they were just like looking at me in like this daze. And they didn't give any words of encouragement. They didn't say like, what's going on in here? Like there was nothing, like no one at that time ever took into consideration, I feel like this girl just lost her mom. As simple as that sounds. I think everybody was worrying about, oh, I just lost my cousin. Oh, I just lost my sister. Oh, I just lost this person. But like nobody like thought about this 25-year-old girl just lost her mom. And what does that do for her world? What is that going to look like for her? Who's going to teach her these things that she's still trying to understand as a woman? Who's going to give her that nurturing attitude towards her? Who's going to tell her at 20 years old, you're not going to have everything figured out? Who's going to continue to cultivate that person that she's trying to be? Nobody, I feel like in that moment in my family took that role, took that responsibility. No one did that for me. And it forced me to find people like Jamie, to find people outside of my family because nobody took that time to really understand me in that moment. It was so easy to write me off because she's angry. Hell yeah, I'm angry. Like, you would be angry if these things were happening to you too. But it almost made it easy. Like, Oh, she's angry, so we're just going to leave her to be angry. Oh, she has attitude, so leave her over there. She wants to have attitude, she's going to have to understand what that attitude does for her. This is not just about her. We lost this person too. No, because there's people, think to my aunt who is, I believe, 60 years old. She lives with my grandma still to this day. They do everything together. They go on vacation together. They go grocery shopping together, everything. And you're telling me right now, as a 60-year-old woman, if you would lose your mom at that big age, you would not know, but you have had your mom to help you raise your kids. You've had your mom at your wedding. You've had your mom at all these things that you're talking about, a 25-year-old. And it was almost like they were holding me to the standards of them as an adult. Like, okay, well, just deal with it. You've lost your mom. Like, oh, okay, like you'll be okay. And it's like, no, I absolutely won't be okay. I'm a new mom. And me saying all these things now, I realized I would just internalize everything, and it turned into anger, and it turned into anger. And I was just so angry at the fact that I would even have to say these things to people. Like, why do I have to explain this to you? So I think in the next part, I really want to share with you guys my family dynamic and really talk about the support system in that time and kind of shed light more on my family dynamics with people and where I'm at today with my family. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I know you guys felt the emotion, but stay tuned to part 2, and I'm going to continue and telling you about my family and everything. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Joy podcast. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to finding your own joy and left you feeling inspired. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you like what you heard, share it with your circle. It might be just the thing they need. Let's keep growing, glowing, and finding joy together. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember to keep it relaxed, relatable, and real. See you soon. I can see you making moves. The chosen one, we steady choosing you. She dope as hell, but she a Libra too. Hey guys, it's finally here. We have the Real Joy podcast journal. I'm so excited to share this with you all. If you stay tuned to the end of this episode, we're going to have details on how you can get your own copy. So stay tuned. I see your growth, it's amazing. Always evolving on a daily. She got a smile that's contagious. Got hella joy, don't let them take it. Welcome back to part 2. So I'm going to be talking about my family and my dynamics, but I suggest you go back to part 1 if you haven't watched it, because I'm just going to jump back in from where I left off. So make sure you check out part 1 because it'll make a lot more sense if you're just now tuning into part 2. So take this moment, pause, go back to part 1, and then come back and see me here. But for all of y'all who watched part 1, let's get right into it. So like I was saying with my family, during my grieving process, you're talking about someone who grew up around my family, right? Like I said, my mom cooked Sunday dinners all the time. Like I was raised in this dynamic of just like family matters and the support system. And I saw my mom do for others. But now that I think about it, I saw my mom do for others. My mom was always the person who was doing for everyone around her. And in my head, I thought that was family, but it was my mom upholding this dynamic. It wasn't everyone else pouring into it. I really feel like my mom saw the importance of family and the value of it and tried to give that to me, but I feel like she was the one that was doing all the work. It wasn't an equal balance. I really do feel like she was the one that was always showing up, taking care of everyone, making sure everyone was good on her part. So now that I am in this moment in life and I see what family really is, I also felt as if it continued to fuel that anger for me. Like, it was just like, let's go back. Lost my mom. Her husband sucks. And now my family sucks. When I say that, I remember trying to find those people in my family. Like, for instance, back to the example, if you haven't seen the first episode of the podcast, go back and watch that. But that night, after everything had happened, I ended up going to the court. I pressed charges, and I was rewarded like $300 to fix my window and the damages that were done to my house. So at the time I didn't have a vehicle. So I was asking my aunt, I remember calling her and I was like, okay, this is me trying. I'm going to try to like depend on someone. They say I don't reach out enough. I don't ask them when I need help. Okay, cool. So I was like, I'm going to call my aunt. I'm going to ask her if she could take me to the courthouse so I could pick up this check so I could fix my window. So I remember calling her and she like sounded so understanding, like, of course I could take you. And I remember hanging up the phone like, okay, maybe this is going to work. My phone rings and I answer. And before I can even say hello, my aunt is like, girl, tell me why Ebony called me and asked me to take her to the courthouse to pick up this check. This girl always got something going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like letting her talk. I'm like, yeah, you called me by accident. You probably meant to call someone else, but you're talking. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, forget it. And actually, I don't need you to take me to the court. And I think like that for me was my last final straw, because it was just like, I trusted you. I tried. And look what you did with it. And this was like, I feel like a repeated thing with my family. Like my pain and my hurt and my anger was turning into like tea and gossip. And I think, it's easy to gossip and have tea about people, but you don't really understand the other side to that. Like, yes, it's a funny haha moment for you, but this is somebody's life you're talking about. This is something that's actually happening to someone. This is somebody's reality. And I think that's what made me lose trust and hope in my family, because it was entertainment for them. Things that were happening to me and affecting me and my child started to become entertainment. And it started to become like, oh, you call her and see if she'll tell you, and then bring it back. Like, I'm talking to someone from Boston, the information goes to Arizona, it goes back down to North Carolina, but no one was willing to step up and help. It was just a call to I'm going to act like I'm here to support you, but I really want to be the one who has the tea. So when I call this person, I could tell them what was going on. And I think the more I felt that, the more I just started to distance myself away from my family and really disappeared. Okay, I'm not the butt of your jokes. You guys aren't going to support me. You aren't here to help me. And I really feel like my family, now that I think about it, they're the type of people that have been raised on survival and not love. And I kind of see why my mom was so different and why I was kind of raised separately from them until I got older, until I got high school, and she wanted me to feel that family dynamic. But I see why in those crucial years between the ages of, I would say 5 and 13, it was just me and my mom. We were in a whole nother area than my family, because if I was raised around my family, I don't think that I would be the person who my mom raised me today, because the rest of my family was not raised off of love, strictly survival. So they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that they're going to benefit from being around you. Whether that's making you pay for something, whether that's getting $20 out of you. It's a strategic game where they are going to walk away from you with some type of gain, with some type of something from you. So I think the more I realized that made me have to find my own support system. And I know I talk about Jamie being a huge part of my support system, and she definitely is to this day, from that moment to that day. But I do have to say that there was someone who played a huge part in getting me to Connecticut before I could get there. And that is my Aunt Chris. And I say Aunt Chris, she's not family. She actually is someone that has known me since I was a baby. So her and my mom worked at the church together when I was younger. How I talked about how I was raised in the church and born in the church. That dynamic went back to my church days. And me and her daughter actually call each other god sisters, because we weren't related, but we kind of just grew up and we've been in each other's lives for our whole lives at this point. So I smile when I talk about my Aunt Chris, because something with her, she was just so nurturing and caring towards me, like from the moment I met her. I feel like even as a child, I don't know, like for me, I feel like when I have like this open relationship with people, it usually stems from like the first day of meeting them, because I feel people and people feel me. So it's like with my Aunt Chris, she just had this type of kind of what I was explaining in the other episode, like nobody cared that my mom had passed away. No one got it. No, she absolutely understood it. And before my mom even passed, she was such a support system in that way. Because remember how I was saying me and my mom, our relationship was rocky because of her husband. So at one point I had moved back to where my mom was. Remember I said I moved to the mountains. I had to move back. Before I got my apartment squared away and everything, my mom and I had decided that I was going to be able to live with her until I found my apartment and got it furnished. So I moved from the 5 hours away where I was with my ex, moved down to be with my mom. When I got to my mom's house, I don't think she had cleared it with her husband or me being there. He did not want me to live with them. He did not want me to be there. My mom let me stay anyway. I woke up to take a shower to get ready for work that day, and the shower in the hallway bathroom wasn't working, but they had a shower in their room. So my mom was like, oh, just take a shower in my room and just come out and get dressed. So he told my mom, no, I don't want her taking a shower in here. She's like, well, she has to get ready for work. Like, she has to go to work. And I'm like, Mom, now remember, my mom is sick, so I'm not going to allow you to go back and forth with this man. And at this point, I can be honest, I had no respect for him because he was making it so hard for me and my mom to just coexist. So I remember like kind of being like, Mom, don't say anything to this man. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to take a shower and I'm going to go to work. He doesn't have to worry about me for the rest of the day. So I went in the bathroom, took a shower. Do y'all know by the time I got out of the shower, he had called the police on me, and the police was standing in her kitchen, and I'm in a towel trying to get ready to go to work. I had to drive 1 hour and 20 minutes to go to work. And the police is standing there, and I'm like, you gonna arrest me for taking a shower? Like, what are we talking about? And she was like, I heard that you were disturbing. And it's like, what am I disturbing? I said, I actually don't have time to talk to you because I'm gonna be late for work. I went in the room, got dressed. I said, officer, do you need anything from me? Are you arresting me for anything? No, so I'm actually gonna leave and go to work. And imagine having to go to work and explain to your boss why you're a little bit late because your mom's husband called the police on you for taking a shower in your mom's house. Yeah. So when I say things like that, I wasn't able to stay at my mom's house because of the fact that it became to a point where I had to respect where my mom was. And though I didn't agree with it, she was sick, and me and her husband constantly butting heads and going at it wasn't conducive to her getting better and to making her comfortable. So I took an approach as a daughter, and I was just like, this is your husband. I had to take a step back. I had to literally, that's why this episode is called Gone Girl. When I say I disappeared, I was like, because at the same time, I have to protect my peace and I have to protect myself in this as well. And you can't choose me over your husband, so I have to choose myself. So I say all that to say, this is when me and Aunt Chris's relationship really, it was just so amazing to see someone really understand where you are, not judge you for being there, and really, she was just so nurturing. Like, there were times where, so I say all to say, she ended up letting me stay with her until my apartment was ready. So I would say maybe like a week and a half, I stayed with her. And she was just like, every morning before I left to go to work in the morning, she would leave me like these little cute notes in my lunch bag. She would like pack lunch for me and leave these little notes and was like, you are, I don't think it said like, it's just like, you are going to get through this, or like some type of inspirational note she would just always write on a piece of paper. And just thinking about like things like that was just her being her. Like, she was just this person for everyone. It had nothing to do with me. Like, this was just who she showed up in the world as. And I think that just goes back to just being you, and just like, you never know how being you is going to affect others around you. And I don't know if she ever, I know like I always tell her thank you. And when I visit North Carolina, I used to like surprise her with flowers and like all these things. But she was she helped me not crash out, I would say. Like, because everything around me was like, crash out, Ebony, crash out, Ebony. Like, just crash out. Like, you have every reason right now to crash out. But her just having that nurturing side, what I needed. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, I said in that episode where I ran out the house and fought my ex, I was like, probably if somebody would have just came to me and gave me some type of love or some type of like, I understand what you're going through right now, I probably wouldn't have crashed out on my ex. But I think that that's just such a reaction to like, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm being misunderstood, so now I'm gonna act out. And this is what that looks like. So before I even left Connecticut, my time in North Carolina, I feel like my Aunt Chris like helped me make the best of it. She like did my hair before I left to go to Connecticut. Like, I just remember us like, I would be in my house and she would, so this is even before, sorry y'all, I'm kind of skipping around. So yes, I did stay with her before my apartment got ready. Then remember I moved into the apartment. The apartment was ruined because my ex came and did all the things or whatever. So then I ended up going back to stay with her because I didn't feel comfortable in being there until my window got repaired. Then I went back home. But in the process, before I left to move to Connecticut, I would go to her house a lot, or she would just come pop in on me and check on me because I would just kind of sit at home and be alone and like in the dark. Like I said, I was drinking a lot. I was always intoxicated somehow. I was losing weight. Like, everyone around could see. Like, if you knew me, you could kind of see I lost weight really quickly. And she just never judged me for that. It's almost like she was just like, would come over and be like, hey, come take this ride with me. Like, she would make up something for me to do. Hey, I need you to help me with this. Hey, come ride with me here. And like I said, it's just those little things that you're doing that you don't know how it affects someone. So I hope she sees this. And I just want to say thank you so much for being who you are. Just being that person. I know that you didn't even understand in that moment what you were doing for me, but I am here today probably because of you. If I didn't have you there, I don't know if I would have even been able to be here or continue and being myself or just find that, light in a dark place. And you were definitely that light in the dark place. So I just want to say thank you. But in speaking of healing and all these things, kind of like the person that she was to me, I found this journal, and everything that I'm saying about my Aunt Chris is exactly who my mom was to other people. And I always knew that, but it's so crazy because my daughter was cleaning her room the other day, and she's like, Mom, I found this journal and people are talking about Nana in the journal. And I'm like, what? And I think that this is crazy how you're talking about all those moves. If you go back to the episode where I talk about all those moves, this journal existed before my mom passed away. So you're talking about this journal back from when I was in college. I don't even know why. You're talking about me moving from North Carolina to Rhode Island to DC to Indiana and I still have this journal. So when I found it, first of all, I had goosebumps because I'm just like, ugh. And it's so weird because Jamie asked me the other day, do you have moments where like you feel like your mom is giving you a message or your mom is like coming to you to talk to you? And I was like, no, not really. And then when Kalani brought me this journal, it was like 2 days after Jamie had said that. And I was just like, okay. And I was in the process of making my own journal at the time too. So like the power of journaling and just like the fact that I still have this, the fact that words last a lifetime, the fact that I'm able to go back and just like have a physical representation of what my mom has been to other people. I want to read a couple of things to y'all, just a couple of statements that people were saying about my mom, just so I think when y'all hear this, y'all will understand why I'm here, why my passion is what it is, because this is who my mom was. And this is growing up, I just, you know how some people say you can talk about being this person, but no, I like watched my mom be the person that she talked about being. She didn't just walk the walk. She didn't just talk the talk. She walked the walk. And I just want to read a couple of these to y'all. So someone said, "You are truly a role model for older women and special and beautiful young ladies. Tonight when I get home, I'm going to tell my mom your story so that she can go back to school and she will achieve whatever she wants to accomplish, just like you did. You make me proud, Mama. Keep doing your thing and inspiring young youth. I love you so much." And then someone said, "To a wonderful, beautiful sister, may God continue to look over you as you take a new journey in life. Here's a dime for every time that someone needed you to help out and you was there. Once again, I send you blessings in a new part of your life. Nice knowing you for the years that I did." But these are just like so many like, I'm going to miss all the love and support you've provided me with whenever I needed, or if you just wanted to share it with me. That's one. I'm always going to miss you because you seem like a spirit who was sent from heaven to keep others around you happy and smiling. So when I talk about my mom and just like who she was to me, I think that is so much more powerful when I read who she was to others too. Because that is what fuels me when you talk about legacy, when you talk about how you want to be remembered and things like that. Like, I can say it, everyone can say it, but this is a pure example of the legacy that she left. And I feel like you can give people money, you can give people things, but how you make people feel, they're never going to forget that. And they're never going to forget who you were to them in times when you don't even know what people are going through. Sometimes people don't share it with you, but you just showing up and being yourself and just no matter what, not for any gain, for personal gain, just continuing to be intentional in the world, it matters. It does matter who we are. So I just am excited to find this because journals matter, you know, and the healing process like this helped me in my healing process, finding something that's so tangible that I'm able to always have. Like, I'm never going to lose this. The fact that I even have this speaks volumes that I even have this. I think this journal is 10 years old. So as old as my daughter. So I definitely am happy that you all have joined me on this another episode. I know this one was tough, but like I said, I'm creating a space of vulnerability, of realness, and I have to show up like that for you guys. So just thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Joy Podcast. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to finding your own joy and left you feeling inspired. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you like what you heard, share it with your circle. It might be just the thing they need. Let's keep growing, glowing, and finding joy together. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember to keep it relaxed, relatable, and real. See you soon. I can see you making moves. The chosen one, we steady choosing you. She dope as hell, plus she a Libra too. So this is a sneak peek of our new healing journal. So this is an exclusive first look at our brand new journal, which is a guide to support your healing journey. This journal is filled with thoughtful prompts, reflections, and exercises inspired by the meaningful conversations from the podcast. Whether you're working through personal growth, self-care, or emotional healing, this journal is here to help you navigate the process with intention and clarity. This is an exclusive opportunity for my subscribers to receive a downloadable journal of your own. All you need to do is subscribe and comment the word journal to receive your special link. This is just a way of me saying thank you for being here with me. So I'll see y'all at the next episode.
The devil is a liar.
said the devil is a liar.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Victory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Woo!
Give me my water.
I see your growth, it's amazing. Always evolving on a daily. She got a smile that's contagious. Got hella joy, don't let them take it.
Welcome back to the Real Joy Podcast. Today I have with me
Jamie, the OG.
OG is back. Yes. I told you I was going to see her since y'all love her so bad. Here she is.
OG is back.
OG is back in the building. So to start this episode off, we are going to read a journal prompt from, hopefully you got your journal. What are you doing? It's available.
Yeah, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? Do you want to heal? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so.
Oh, really? Do you want to heal?
No, do you want to heal? Like, do you? So we have the Real Joy Podcast journal, which is a healing guided journal. So we are going to do our prompt. So this says, what is one truth about myself that I've been avoiding?
Ooh. Yikes.
For sure.
You go first.
Okay. I can say, after doing my real talk, I believe. See, I don't even want to admit it. I don't even want to say it.
You want to say it out loud?
I think that I am a true self-sabotager. Is that a
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Self-sabotager?
It's going to be a word today.
Yeah, it's going
Hello?
to be a word. That's a word.
Yep, it sure is.
It's going to be a word today.
It is.
But yes, I think that I truly self-sabotage. Like, I get in my mind. I don't even have to see an outcome. I create the outcome in order to protect myself from what it can actually be. But how do you know?
Right.
So I just completely avoid things, or I just count myself out before I can even get in the room. Sometimes I don't even show up, and I just tell myself, you can't do that. And that's a lie from the pits of hell. So yes, that's my truth that I hate, that I've avoided about admitting, that I don't want to admit, but that I'm, you know how you just play things back, and I can be like right there. Like, I see so many moments where I've been like right there.
And then you're like, nope.
You know what?
I'm not going to do it.
This ain't it.
Yeah.
What if it was it?
What if it was? You done talked yourself out
And
of
I
it.
talked myself out of it.
Yeah, and you done missed the thing.
So, what about you? What is one truth about yourself that you've been avoiding?
Oh, man. First of all, I think there's several things that I completely avoid. But to narrow it down to one, I think it is, like, I have no control over people's narratives, right? And I have a hard time really letting go from that. You know, like if I'm in a difficult situation, or I had an argument or something with somebody and it didn't end well, I'm over here, you over there, I have a hard time fully letting go, because now they have their own version, their own perspective, their own narrative, and they're going to tell this person and that person and that person. And the fact that I don't have any control over that actually drives me insane.
Yeah, like, what are you over there saying?
What are you over there saying?
Yeah, because people love to, like, spin things.
They love to spin things. You think I'm a punk because I ain't no punk. I have issues with that.
I got to show you.
I got to show you that I'm not a punk.
I'm not no punk.
Right? And you tell me a lot. Jay, you gotta let that go.
That's
like,
not
you
for
cannot.
us.
That's not for us. You have no control. Somebody, they're gonna come up with whatever they want to come up with is their narrative, and I can't do anything about it. And I know that, right? I really do know that. But actually, I have a hard time accepting that.
You know it, but accepting
I know it.
that is hard.
I have not gotten to that point of accepting it.
Oh, that's real.
So, yeah.
We do talk about that a lot, but that's real.
Yes.
So today's episode is going to be on a mother's love, which I think is so like, ooh, just being a mom. I've only been a mom for 10 years. You've been a mom for 20 years.
Yes.
It is such a crazy ride.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
I was about to say journey, but I think crazy ride.
Yeah.
No, that's actually perfect.
It's such a crazy ride. It's like a roller coaster ride. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
from the age of like 0 to like 2, you're obsessed with your kid. They are the cutest thing in the world.
Yes.
You're like, mama, woo, yay. Like, you said it.
Right.
And then 2 to 4.
It's a little rough. A little
I ain't
tough.
never wanted to like
Right, box out with
Tyler. But they make you want to like,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Especially when they headbutt you in the head, something like that.
just
Yeah,
do
make your nose
crazy
burn.
stuff,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
and then I think from 4 to 7, you kind of get that. Oh,
They're going to school.
Yeah,
Teeth are falling out.
a lot of firsts.
A lot of
right?
firsts.
Like,
Yes,
so you're
yes,
like,
yes.
oh.
Yeah.
And then 8 comes.
Ooh, yeah, 8 to 9. I would say 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
And my daughter is 10 right now.
Ooh, baby.
8 to 10 is like, okay, so what I tell people now, 8 to 10 is like the pre-teen stages today. If we think about how advanced kids are and how things are so different, 8 to 10 is really like...
It made them fast forward into,
Yes, it's really like 11 to 13 now.
Right. Because they're really not, like, in this age, they're not allowed to be, like, kids. Like, I feel like they would still be playing with, like, the little toy trucks and the dolls and stuff at this age. But there's no toys at this age.
There's no toys.
There's no toys. Yeah, I agree with that.
iPad, the conversations that they're having with kids at school.
It has actually forced us to have certain conversations with them.
What? Do you remember last year, everything that I was going through at school with Kalani?
Absolutely.
Y'all, I was going to that school. This little boy was telling Kalani, I don't want to put this. He was basically commenting on her body parts in ways that third graders should not be commenting on their bodies. And it was very awkward. Yeah. It was very weird, but I had to start having conversations with her about her body and her knowing parts and putting words to things. And it was just so, to me, what felt like we would be having those conversations in like 5th and 6th grade.
Right. Had to have it sooner.
Had to have it sooner in 3rd grade.
Right.
So motherhood is just, and I think it's like always this weight, because like I tell people all the time, when you're a mother, you realize like, I am raising someone that's going to be an adult and who's going to tell their side of things, right? Because everybody has a side. So you could be thinking that you're like doing everything that you need to do for them, that you're showing up for them, that you're doing it not perfect, right? Because nobody can be perfect. But you're thinking that you're pouring into them in these ways, and in their perspective, it could be a whole
completely different
thing.
Yeah. Well, that's like what I mentioned in the previous episode that we did with Madison.
Yeah.
On mental health. Remember the therapy session I said we were in?
Yeah.
And she was just like, honestly, it's my mom's fault. I was like, who? Look around. Well, who your mama today?
It ain't me.
I know not.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I've been here.
I've been riding.
When I tell you, that was like such a blow to me. I couldn't even focus.
And then you can't even get angry, right?
I can't, because
that's your truth.
That's her truth.
So it's finding your way through, I want you to say your truth.
Yeah.
I want to support you through your truth.
Right.
But right now, your truth is hurting me.
Your truth is killing me. I was like, what?
And I had to explain that to my daughter because, you know, there's been times or moments where I've wanted to do something with her, or I'll say something to her, and she kind of will like shrug me off or just, you know, give me a reaction that may not be the warmest. And I tell her all the time, I want you to know that mommy is human too.
Right.
I have feelings, I have emotions, and like the same way you want me to be warm and gentle and loving with you, I'm looking for that in return as well too. So like we have to like take care of each other.
Right.
And I think a lot of times being moms, I think that it's often hard for us to advocate for ourselves in those moments because
We're moms.
It's like, deal with it. Like,
with it, yeah.
always. But I'm really trying to raise my daughter to understand that, like, no, you have to, the same way you want this respect, the same way you want me to speak to you, the same way you have to do that in return.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, so I think that is just such a balance. And being a mom, I think, is about finding that balance in general in life. I know a lot of people who, for me, yes, I am a mom first, but I never want to lose who I am to myself as well. Like,
you don't want to lose yourself in motherhood.
Yeah, like, and I think that is so huge because I've seen it done.
Right.
I think I talked about it in the podcast, maybe on the first episode. I think that my mom her whole life was just focused on being a mom, on being a mom. And when I got 18 years old, and when I got into a certain place, she was like, I've been your mom my whole life. Like, it's time for me to live now. And I'm like, well, you should have been living at the same time. Who told you to do that?
Who said that?
Because now it feels like this resentment.
Where does that leave me? Yeah,
because I had to sacrifice this. I had to do this. I had to do this.
Yeah.
So now you're an adult. Go live, and I'm going to live my life. And I hear a lot of people say that. They're like, I can't wait till my kids are this. I'm going to start traveling. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to do that. I'm like, why do we feel like we have
now?
Why do we feel like we have to put our life on hold and like be this like strong, like, no, like, live
I remember when I got pregnant with Madison, I was like 23, 24. And one of my friends at the time, she said, oh, man, when I told her I was pregnant, dang, that sucks. Your life is over. I said,
not over.
I said, oh, over? And I actually, I was so mad at her.
Yeah.
I actually did not talk to her for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually like still going through all the emotions, right? I'm like, okay, I'm actually pregnant. Like, trying to figure that out, right? And then for you to tell me that my life is over. But absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely
I have friends like that too. Like, they'll be like, I don't know how y'all moms do it because I'm not doing that. I'm not putting my life on hold to take care of somebody and and I'm just sitting there like,
right.
like I just could not do it. Like, kudos to you because I want all my money, I want all my time, I want all that. I'm like, okay, I get it. But I also just feel like motherhood is not like this 18-year sentence.
No.
Where you have to put yourself on the back burner.
Absolutely not.
And now I just got to lock in and like, you can still find life.
There's balance.
There's balance.
There's balance, yeah.
You can still become who you want to be.
Right.
You can still do everything you want to achieve.
Accomplish your goals. Yeah, absolutely.
While being a mother.
Same time.
So I just think
I think we're examples of that too.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think that. And I think that the kids, when they come to the studio, we often say at times, they don't get it. They don't understand.
Yeah.
But I can't wait until they get to an age where they can appreciate it and they can look back and they can be like, wow, like we watched our moms literally like own their own business. And like we saw it from the beginning to
where it is now.
Us, God willing.
Right.
But yes, so
I want to touch upon, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Back when you just said that you have to remind Kalani that you have feelings too, and even though I'm your mom, I still have feelings, because kids actually bully their parents.
Especially girls.
Yeah.
That dynamic is like so interesting, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel like we try to be so soft and loving and understanding, and there's times
and you're just like, yo,
what?
Right?
Like,
whoa, I was being really soft.
and they're just like, like the other
do
day,
not care.
Yeah, the other day, perfect example. I was, doing my hair and I was spraying this like leave-in conditioner in my hair, and Lonnie was sitting on the couch, and I was like, "You want mommy to spray some in your hair?" She was like, no, and I was like. So I'm not gonna lie, the pettiness in me. I said, okay, well, if you want crunchy hair, you can have crunchy. She's like, my hair's not crunchy.
It is
now because why are you trying to play me?
Right.
And I'm just like in that moment, I'm like,
no, they do.
What did I do to you?
They
like,
do. Yeah.
I'm sitting down. Look, I don't even like wrestling. We got wrestling on the TV because that's what you want to watch. I really want to be upstairs in my bed.
Right.
I'm trying to do this little mom daughter.
Yeah.
Why you got an attitude?
Right. I have two. I have two. I have the 6-year-old bullies me, the 20-year-old bullies me. It's like,
But
it's
they
really
so soft. As soon
yeah.
as you fix your lips to even say, oh, why are you talking to me like that? You'd be like
that. The tears, the sad face.
Or she'll just go in her room and I'm like,
walk away.
I'm like, hey, yo.
Right. No, that's a real thing. Kids actually bully their parents. They do. Absolutely.
People don't talk about it. These kids is bullies.
They are.
I don't care what nobody say. But
It is.
when you talk about motherhood, I often think of times a lot. So, like, I know this is like a reoccurring. I lost my mom at an early age. So when I talk about mothering, a lot of times I try to do it from the lens that she mothered me
right.
with, through. And how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's like a positive thing? Like, how do you feel like when it comes to mothering? Do you do it the way that your mom mothered you, or have you found like your own spin to it?
Yeah, I do find that I do a lot of what my mom did with us. Probably most things that I do, right? Even the things I did not like, right, that I actually have made sense of or find the value in. I definitely parent the way my mom, even the way, she woke me up in the morning, woke me and my brother. She had this little song, good morning, good morning. I may not sing the song, but I'm very soft with my kids and waking them up in the morning, like very gentle, low voice. I'm all about experiences and the time. I try to be intentional with my time in the house with them, and because that's what my mom did.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be aware, too, of the way our parents parented us through their trauma. So I feel like, yes, there's some great things that I have taken from my mom, some valuable lessons and really, good things. And there's some not so good things.
Yeah.
Because it was coming through her trauma. She parented us through some of her trauma.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be really aware, because I think that's how we break generational curses.
Yeah.
And there are lots of generational curses that my mother intentionally broke, right? Because she was...
About that the other day.
We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff that her mom did, she did what, what she, the best she could with what she had, right? But it was through her trauma.
Yeah.
Passed on to my mom. My mom was and she spoke about that when we were kids. My mom was very open.
Yeah.
She spoke about that. No, I'm breaking this. She said, I'm breaking this curse. She said, I'm on my knees every day breaking this so that you and your brother you're not going to do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Right.
And I look back to just my mom growing up. I always knew that my mom was a daddy's girl. Like her and her dad. And it's funny because then I became like that with my grandfather.
Yeah.
Like that was my... but I did not see her have this nurturing, loving relationship with her mom. I feel like a lot of things she did for her mom was out of obligation, but when she did for my grandfather, came from a place of love, or it came from a place of like she felt moved to do it. And it's so crazy now.
Is that because how she was loved by both of them?
I think so. I think that my mom embodied a lot of my grandfather's values and just who he was as a person. He was very strong. Like how I described my mom and how I described me, I can see that coming from my grandfather. He was a man of little words. He did not say much, but you could feel his presence when he walked in the room.
Right.
And yeah, so her and my grandma, I didn't see from my perspective of them having this like, oh, my daughter, oh, my mom. I could see that relationship with my grandmother and her other daughter, but not necessarily with my mom. And I think my mom was trying to heal that through being a mom to me.
Yeah.
Because my mom was the opposite.
Right.
So nurturing, spoke life into me, so I often wonder if she was trying to mother me while healing that with her and her,
absolutely. So. I can relate to some of that.
Yeah.
And watching my mom's relationship with her mom, my mom adored my grandmother.
Yeah.
Like adored her. And my grandmother was a great mom. She was a great grandmother. But I have to say, my grandmother was a little weird with my mom.
Yeah.
It was a little strange.
It's weird, right?
It was a little strange. Like, for instance, remembering everybody's birthdays, and everybody would get, she did this lemon frosted cake. But when my mom's birthday came around, which was the week of Thanksgiving, don't change.
How do you forget that?
How do you forget that? My mom wouldn't get the phone calls. And this was as an adult, so I don't even know, like, childhood.
As a child, what that looked like.
Exactly. But as an adult, she would, like, forget my mom's birthday, or my mom wouldn't get the cake.
Which is crazy you say that, too, because I remember my mom always talking about how she didn't get a birthday party because her birthday was right before school started. So it was, like, almost in her head, like, she made an excuse of why she didn't get a birthday party.
Right.
So that's just so weird. But what they did with that as mothers, I think, like you said, my mom was very intentional.
Yes.
And like had these conversations with me at an early age. Like, no, we're doing this because of A, B, and C. No, in this house we say I love you when we go to sleep.
You're not going to bed angry.
Yep.
You apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if being a mom to us healed the wounds with their mom.
Oof. I think part of it, well, from my experience, I think part of it. But when my grandmother was transitioning, right, and my mom became her caretaker, I can also see my mom still searching for answers in that, and the way she cared for my grandmother. Like, she went over and beyond, I think, still trying to look for that, like I said, remember, my mom adored my grandmother. Yeah. And I saw it in her caretaking too, like went over and beyond. But I saw it through a lens of like still searching for that acceptance or appreciation or whatever trauma happened at whatever age, that showing up a little bit too. And still wanting my grandmother to say something, even through her transitioning, that my mom wasn't hearing.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right? And it's just like, so watching this was very interesting from my perspective. And then hearing my mom talk to me about her, journey with taking care of my grandmother and whatnot, and how she felt versus her siblings and the way, all of that. It was just like,
that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I often think at times, me as a mom and how I go about things, and you probably hear me say this all the time, I compare myself to me being my mom and Kalani being me. Because it doesn't help that the little girl looks
just
like me when I was her age. And then I just feel like because I've embodied my mom's spirit and everything about her, I'm just like, oh, like it's such an interesting dynamic, I would say, because I feel like I have used that energy of grief and everything with my mom to kind of recreate what I had with my mom, with my daughter. But then I often wonder in times, am I putting too much weight on my daughter and that relationship to like be this thing that helps, you know what I mean? I just feel like in times when we're doing things, we feel like it's like a positive, but like at the end, right, when she becomes an adult, she's going to have her perspective, and I wonder what that's going to look like. So,
do you feel like there are parts from the way your mom parented you that you were trying to heal? And does that show up in your parenting?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And the biggest thing, we've talked about this. I remember I like broke down in tears at your house. I don't even know if you remember this, but my mom, being a single mom, she often needed breaks and she needed time. So I remember like being at family members' house who like, they weren't trying to hide the fact that they wasn't trying to babysit.
Right.
So I remember like always being around, being the only kid. So like whether it was my grandma watching me, my aunt watching me, somebody watching me, I felt unwanted there, and I felt like they didn't want me. So I would try to like make myself so small and not speak, not like I would
take up a lot
to
of
the
space.
bathroom.
Yeah.
I would like be invisible almost. So like I wasn't a bother. I wasn't a nuisance.
Right.
And I remember going back to my Aunt Chris, that episode when she was letting me stay at her house.
Yeah.
One day I like came here. She was like, I can never tell when you're like in my house. Like I can't tell when you're here. Like
Who used to say the same thing?
Like it's like I would just sit in one spot. I didn't want to be in the way. I would like tuck myself away. And she was like, even when she went in the room she was like, everything was put back. Like I was never there.
Yes.
She's like, I can't even tell. Like, are you staying here?
Right.
Like I said, you can stay here. Like, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, you put everything back as if like you were just even never here. And I think that comes from being a child and just knowing, like, I would hear my grandma on the phone. Yeah, she brought this girl over here again, and I got to take care of her, and blah blah blah. So it's like, okay, like I don't want to say anything. I don't.
Right. Let me be almost invisible.
Yeah.
It was like that. Yeah. It was like that at my house too when you came to stay with us. All of a sudden you would just tiptoe off. And I remember, we had Christmas or whatever and people would be like, where's Ev? I was like, she disappeared. Ev went upstairs.
She's fine.
She's fine. And I was like, yeah, she'll reappear. She may not. But all of a sudden you tiptoe upstairs.
So I think I have this guilt when it comes to Kalani being somewhere. My daughter knows she can go and stay over somebody's house. She can text me at 2:00 in the morning and say, hey mom, can you pick me up? And I'm like, out my sleep, like, because I don't want her to be somewhere and embody that feeling of like not wanting to be there. I don't know how to explain it because it's not the same, because sometimes she chooses to be there. But I think I do parent from that trauma,
Yeah.
So that's like one of the examples I can think of.
Right. How do you how do you break that trauma? How do you, I know you're not there yet, but I guess rhetorical question, or you can answer if you're trying to.
Yeah, I think that often in times I have to, see, kids, kind of like what we said back to the bullying thing, kids are smart. They're very smart. And even though they don't know exactly what they're doing, they run on patterns, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like once my daughter realizes that, she uses it to her.
Yeah. I know my mama gonna come get me.
I know my mom's gonna come get me. Yeah. And it almost becomes like this control thing, I feel like.
Definitely.
And sometimes I have to like, or like this power dynamic struggle, I feel like. So I really am trying to be better about that. Like if she goes to someone's house, I have a sit down talk with her. Like, listen, you're making this decision. Like think of all that goes with that. Like, and I will make her commit to that decision. Like if you're going to stay over here, like that's going to be, and I'll see you in the morning.
Right.
Unless an emergency, you know what I mean? But it can't just be, I changed my mind.
Right.
So just talking to her about commitments, I feel like that's huge. And I'm trying to like work through that with her.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I see it. I definitely see it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I struggle too with my boundaries with that. Because so often like for instance, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I knew you needed a break.
Yes.
I knew because Kalani was sick, like sick, right? But she had gotten to the point, medicines, and she was doing better. She wasn't 100%, but she was doing better. But I knew you needed a break, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to this Super Bowl party. I'm bringing my kids. You want Kalani to go with me? I was like, yes. He was like, yeah, da-da-da-da-da. And Kalani was like, I'll think about it. And so I was like, all right, I'll call back in a couple hours. Kalani was like, she decided not to go. I wanted to say, girl, pack her up, send her downstairs, and tell her, let's go.
She's going.
But I knew you would struggle. I also knew you would struggle with that. Like you would not have been able to relax in peace the way you needed to, right? If you would have made her go, because you would have been worrying about how she's acting, which would have been impacting. You would have thought she would have impacted my fun or the other kids' fun. Yeah, I get it. So that's a struggle, I think, from my perspective, because I'm like, she will be.
Pack that girl up.
Pack that girl. Okay. Send her downstairs. She'll be fine. You get some sleep. You get some rest. Do some makeup. Whatever you need to do.
Do some makeup. For sure.
Right. But it is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. Yeah.
But I think that, like anything, finding the people who get you, right?
Right.
Like I feel like motherhood and the journey of motherhood, there's so many ways to mother. People have their things, but I feel like finding your group that you can identify with, that can validate you. I think that has been huge because I feel like we often at times, like we can joke together in the same manner that I probably wouldn't call another friend and say that to, like, girl, my daughter, I'm about to knuckle up with her. Somebody says, oh my God. No, it's like, girl,
I would never.
Like, oh, like I know I'm not going to hit her. You know what I mean? But just being able to like find the
that
people,
person that
that you just resonate with in that.
Yeah.
And I think that is really what helps you through the journey, the crazy ride of motherhood.
Right. Absolutely. Because this is like, I always tell people, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
And you can't stop.
It doesn't stop because we have a lot of responsibility, right? We can either do totally right by our kids or totally wrong. Either way,
you think you're doing the right thing, but you're not doing.
Then they get older, and you're like, "Wait, what happened?" Because I thought I was being really intentional, and you don't have any more control. It's like, oh wow, all of that is like on us, right?
And it's that every day that thought process is here. And I remember talking to someone about it. I think an older woman, and we were talking about motherhood and everything, and she said something that resonated with me so much, and it was just like. Okay. She said, you know how I know you're a good mom? Because of how the thought process of you being a mom. So you're actively thinking about how these things are going to affect her, your decision making. You care about the ending goal. Yeah. And you mother from that viewpoint. Right. And I was like, you're right.
Right. The validation.
Yeah, you know, because like, first of all, the fact that you understand this, I feel like I was alone in that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people like to act like they got it all figured out.
Oh, yeah.
And they cut their kids' sandwiches and stars and their strawberries and smiley faces and stuff. And to some people, that's what motherhood means. And I'm just like,
put all the energy into that,
Yeah, and to some people, that's how we weigh it, right? Like everybody has different.
When we talk about values and morals and being ethical, that's loving on people, being good to people.
What am I teaching you? How am I cultivating you to be a human that's going to be out here taking care of folks, who's going to love God, who's going to make sure that you're so.
Do you remember what I always say about my kids?
Yes. That at the end of the day, you want to teach your kids how to love people, how to love on people. That is your biggest, that's how you know that you have been a good mom. Because right now you're just teaching them how to love people.
Yeah. Yep. How to love people and be a good human being.
Yep. That's your
Their career path may be one thing, they may be this, but are you a good person? How are you loving?
How do you treat people?
How do you treat people? How are you loving on your neighbors, your family, each other?
How do you show up in this world?
Exactly. I want my kids to be good human beings when they leave my house.
Yeah. This is such a good conversation. I feel like it was so needed. Yeah. I hope that this validated a mother out there. There's no perfect way to be a mom.
No, especially when you have, also when you, I don't want to say especially, but when you have multiple kids. Yeah. You have to parent differently. You have to love them differently. And it's just like, wow. And they don't understand that because they're looking at how I deal with Max, or Max is looking at how I deal with Madison versus Marley. And they don't understand that you three are completely different.
And I have to pour into you all
I do.
Yeah.
So it's hard. But we do the best we can with what we have. And I think we have to be, like we say all the time, be really intentional about breaking curses. Yeah. When curses get passed down and down and down and down.
And you look up and you realize, oh, this is that.
It's like, yeah. It's like, ooh, that's me. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, but yeah.
What would be like your piece of advice that you would leave to a mother who's watching this, who often at times feels like how we're feeling, like maybe like, I know you had the podcast that you are doing with your best friend called Bad Moms or whatever.
Yeah, Worst Moms Ever.
Worst Moms Ever, yeah. So what would be your piece of advice for a mom who feels like the worst mom ever? Yeah. What would be like your takeaway?
My biggest piece of advice is don't forget to give yourself grace. We give everybody else grace, but we forget to give ourselves. Yeah. We forget to remind ourselves that we're human. We're not perfect. I really have to give myself a lot of grace. Yeah. And just say, Jamie, you have feelings. You're human. You did the best you could in this situation, or do things a little differently next time, reflect, right? But definitely give yourself grace. And I'm going to steal yours and say, find your person. Find that one person that you can call, like, like my childhood best friend Chanel, how, when me dealing with Madison and some of her things that she has going on, and she just gets it.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment. Lock in, find that mother, find that person, and just completely lock in, because there are days you're going to call that person and you want to say, I want to box out so badly today, and they're just going to be like, yup, that was me yesterday, girl. I get it.
No, that's your child. You just have to be like, I know that.
Or girl, bring them kids over here. Find your person, definitely.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I would say find your person, and also too, don't be afraid to step away in moments where you don't have the answers, in moments where it feels like I find myself sometimes just taking a break, or I'll tell my daughter, I might not have the answer for that right now, but like give me a moment, and just being okay with not always knowing, right? Like I don't try to like just give her or like pretend. Sometimes like mommy doesn't know right now, but let me... And I'll come back to you with
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yep.
So, yes. But make sure that you guys go ahead and get your downloadable version of the podcast journal. If you go on my Instagram, it is right there in the bio. It's a link right there, so you can purchase it.
It's really good, guys. It's
yes.
really good, yeah.
And for right now, it is $8.99, but that's an exclusive price, because at some points it will not be $8.99. The price is going up. So thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Real Joy Podcast, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Joy Podcast. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to finding your own joy and left you feeling inspired. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you like what you heard, share it with your circle. It might be just the thing they need. Let's keep growing, glowing, and finding joy together. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember to keep it relaxed, relatable, and real. See you soon.
I can see you making moves. The chosen one, we steady choosing you. She dope as hell, plus she a Libra too.
People would be like, your daughter's so, but everybody
we love
I'm like, oh
her.
my, that girl is crazy.
She's so like straightforward. Me and Jamie, and how you try to talk in code and rock kids. She like she catch right on.
Yo, the other morning I tried to she thought I was going to work, so I let her think that, right? So I put like some wine in my Stanley, and I was going. She's like, "Mommy, if you want to get fired from your job, won't you just quit?"
Yes,
like, you should mind your business.
I see your growth, think it's amazing. Always evolving on a daily.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Joy Podcast. Today I have here with me Brittany.
Hi guys.
Brittany, I met Brittany through Jamie's little client, Nyla. So we call her Nyla's mom, but she has a name. Her name is Brittany. So real quick, before we start our episode today, we're going to do a journal prompt out of our new journal. So we're just going to jump right into it. What are 3 things I wish my younger self knew? I'll let you go first, because I think I might have stole some of yours when we were talking. So I'll let you go first. Yes.
3 things I thought say that? Things that I wish my younger self knew.
Yes.
For a fact, for one, is how dope I really am.
Yes.
Because I spent a lot of time trying to like rearrange myself for other people to like me, and like trying to do things other kind of ways until I learned my own path and realized that my path is the path that they need to be in.
Yes.
So that's one thing
really like
I feel
that.
like I should have learned.
Yeah.
Like early on, but now I know it, so it's good.
Now I know.
Another thing I wish I knew is that the people around you are not always to hurt you. Like, you know how you have like older adults and they're trying to tell you something and you like, she's getting on my nerves, or she doing too much.
Sometimes listen.
And sometimes you just gotta listen. And
They've been here before.
The crazy way.
Yeah.
I learned that the crazy way. And that my mom is always right.
Always.
She don't see this part, but
Always.
yeah, always.
Like we were saying, they know that little friend that they like. That girl's
knows.
not your friend.
She knows. Like, my mother is always right. That's like key.
Top.
That's key.
It's top.
That's key.
And it's like, even being a mom now is like, it makes you look back to like moments of silliness. Like, your mom wants the best for you. Your mom is the person that wants you to succeed.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, why not listen to her?
Like, why you gotta fight me? I'm trying to tell you something that's good for you.
No,
like,
seriously.
So I definitely understand that.
Yes, I agree. And I want to like piggyback off of the first one you said, but kind of like for me, I kind of feel that because it's like it's not that you don't fit in. It's like you weren't meant to fit in. You know what I mean? And like, I look back and like, rooms, I never tried to force my way in. It's almost like I just knew, like, let me go over here. Like, I'm not meant to. Yeah, I'm not meant to be over here. And I think it came across as like, oh, she's arrogant, or she thinks she's too good, but it's like you said, I just knew I was different early on. And I'm starting to see it with my daughter too. Like, she'll come home from school and like, she'll say certain things. I'm like, they not like us. Like, it's okay. Like, they just not like us.
Like, you sad for that? Like,
exactly. I said, it's all going to make sense when you get older. Do not be sad about that. So definitely that. I think what I would tell my younger self is like, every fallback or every L really is a lesson. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I feel like sometimes we spend too much energy being low or being down when like you could just see the lesson and go just move on. We spend so much energy in it. So it's like, I would tell myself that. And then the third one, boys/men is not the world's like it's more to life than boys and men. Like, I would tell my 20-year-old self that. Like, when I look at my roster from my 20s,
these boys could never. You could never.
I said, I even sat next to you. Like, you could never. And I used to cry over y'all. I used to I used to like try to get you to see my value. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I would definitely, that should have been my number one. Like, these boys.
It's nothing.
No, you're going to look back. The same ones you're crying over, you're going to end up laughing at. So
that's what I tell the girls in, like, because I work at a high school. So I tell them all the time, like, boys are going to be here. Like, you're going to go on, you're going to live your life, you're going to do whatever you're going to do.
They're going to be right there.
They're going to be right here.
Probably in the same spot that you leave them in.
Like, it's crazy. Like, y'all both can go and do y'all lives and just meet back. Like, my boyfriend now was my friend in 5th grade. And I never, ever, ever seen him like that.
Oh, that's so cute.
But he wasn't my shorty. He wasn't that was just my boy. And we went and did our lives. I went and did my life. Like, and I even moved to South Carolina at school. Came back, and look who my boyfriend is. All of these years later.
Oh, that's so cute. I'm going to have you back on when I talk about love and relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you could give me a word or two. But all right. So today our topic is more so to do with like self-care, how to learn how to take care of ourselves before our body makes us. Yes. So I'm not going to tell your story because I definitely want to reveal your story as we go on. So what was life like before your health scare? We'll call it a health scare for now.
Life was free. Like, I didn't have like a care in the world besides my daughter. Like, I just felt like I was just running on everything.
Making ends meet, just doing whatever you needed
I wanted
to
do, I was doing. I was working overnight. I had a first shift job. I was being a mom during the day. I was tutoring during the evening. And I was eating steak and cheeses,
living
drinking
life,
Red Bulls, making like nachos at home, and that's just what I was eating off. That was what I was surviving off of.
Yeah.
And like, my daughter was little, like she was to the point where like I didn't have to cook a whole meal because it was just me and her. Like, she'll be happy with hot dogs and mac and cheese. Like, that'll be happy to her. Like, and I just was going like, and every day it felt like if I wasn't tired or if I took like a quick little 30-minute nap, I was straight. Like, I was straight because I didn't feel it. Like,
you had trained yourself.
I just was training myself to go, and I just knew I needed money. All I cared about was getting money. Like, and so me and my daughter could be comfortable. Me and my daughter could stay there, and I could keep on driving my car, everything. I didn't care about nothing else. And even when I wasn't working overnight and working the first shift and doing everything, I was going out with my friends on the weekends.
Yeah.
On Fridays, I would go by. I was getting off at 2:00 in the afternoon after working overnight. Got off at 7. got off at 7, had to be to my next job by 8. My daughter had to be to her daycare at 7:30. So I would go home, take a quick shower, literally go get her, like the same thing, and just go home, take a quick nap for probably like 2 hours, 3 hours, go get drunk with my friends and be outside.
Yeah, and then do it all over.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
So it's like really all you were balancing was like work, being a mom, and fun. Like
that's literally all I was. And whole time I was in school, but I was doing so bad in school at that point in time. Like that wasn't my priority.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't my priority. Like now at the age I am now and like the place I am now, I had to retake all of those classes.
Yeah.
Because I just was there to say I was there.
Yeah.
And
but not really in the mind space to be
not
there.
in the mind space to be there at all.
Which I feel like you were kind of like survival mode, it sounds like. Like definitely like I just need to make ends meet. I need to be a good mom, keep my daughter alive, keep a roof over her head, keep us in a car. Yes.
That's about it.
And I feel like when you're in that mode, it's hard to think of anything outside of it. That's why it's called survival mode.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know I was in survival mode.
You never do.
I didn't know. Like I didn't know.
You just get it's like a hamster on the wheel.
For a fact.
Just going around and around. So did you have like any, thinking back, right, before the health scare happened, did you have any moments where you're like, maybe that could have been it? Or like, oh my gosh, like, did I feel something and I just ignored it? Or did it really just hit you when it happened?
It just hit me. Like it just hit me, and I was in nursing school. Like so, like when it hit me, I knew
exactly what it was
hitting me, but I didn't feel it before then. Like I didn't feel it before that day, before that moment when it was actually happening. That's when I felt it. And like after I knew, because I was drinking Red Bulls after Red Bulls after Red Bulls. I wanted the green one. I wanted the yellow one. I wanted.
In the moment where this happened, you're probably like, "This, of course, this is happening to me." Like
for a fact,
like duh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I heard your story, and when you told it, I was like getting goosebumps. But try to like put them in the car with you on that day, like. What were you doing? Where were you going? And what was your mind set on that kind of got you through it?
So let's start to, I was home. I was home that day. It was a Saturday. And I was home that day. And my daughter, she was about 2 or 3. And she was away with my mother. And my mother had called to say that she was bringing her home. And I said, okay, but I was going to get up and make her some food. But my mother ended up bringing her McDonald's, so I didn't have to get up. But I was just so tired. But I just, as much as like I said, I was going and going and going. So I just really felt like I needed to go to sleep. And I just was tired. So my mother brought my daughter in and everything, and I got up and I was in the refrigerator. And I'm dressed for Yale. I was doing environmental services at the time, cleaning the rooms overnight. And I was dressed for Yale, and I was in the refrigerator, and I just felt myself like feel dizzy for a second. And I stopped, and I'm just like, so I just sit there, and I went and I sat on my couch or whatever. So my daughter, like, she little, so she jumping on me. And I'm just like, give mommy a second. I'm like, go get mommy a water. Like, could you go get mommy a water? The refrigerator was still open because when I felt like I immediately needed to sit down. So I never closed the refrigerator. So she went and got me a water or whatever. And I sat there or whatever, and I still felt like a little tired, but I'm just like, all right, Brittany, you're going to be late for work, so you got to get up. So I got up, whatever. I got my shoes and everything, and I had to get my daughter was with my mother, so her car seat was in my living room, and I had to bring it to my car. So I went to go pick up the car seat. So as y'all know, like, a car seat is not nothing, but it felt like the heaviest thing picking it up. Like, I tried to pick it up, and it just felt so heavy. So I picked it up, and I managed to get it to my car or whatever. So my daughter with me or whatever. Mind you, it's pouring raining outside. She's with me or whatever, and I put the car seat in there, and I struggled getting her in the car. So I strapped them both in or whatever, and she goes back there, and she instantly goes to sleep, and I sit down in my seat, in my driver's seat. And mind you, I live in Exit 8, like up on Quinnipiac at the time. And where I was going, where my daughter was going, was to my aunt's house in the hill next to Roberto Clemente. So at that point, my body felt weird. Like, and I knew that my body felt weird. I knew something was happening to me, but I didn't know exactly what was happening to me. I just knew it was something. So I started to drive, whatever. I lived on a hill, whatever. So I'm driving down the hill, everything. And I get on the highway. And like, once I'm driving on the highway, I feel this whole side of me get numb. And like, mind you, I'm driving on the highway, and I'm just like...
And it's raining.
It's raining, and I can't see it to begin with. Like, I already need glasses.
Right.
So like, I'm driving, and I feel everything get numb. So I like switch so I could drive like that. So my brothers used to laugh at me and say that when I was learning to drive, I drove with both feet. So I knew how to drive with this foot already. So
you was prepared for this moment.
So I switched whatever, and I made it all the way to the hill and everything, and I got to my aunt's street. So say like where your arm is my aunt's house. I stopped like over here to my aunt's house, and her son came downstairs. He like, Britt, why are you way up here? And I'm just like, let me rewind. When I got in front of her house to stop, I tried to stop and I couldn't stop because I couldn't press down on my foot, and I couldn't. I felt like I was like pressing down so hard, and it wasn't doing anything. Like, so when I was able to stop in front of her house, that's why I was up there. And he came down there like, why are you parked way down here? And I'm just like, go get your mom, or whatever. So I'm just like get Nyla, like get my daughter out the back. So she sleep. He bring her upstairs or whatever, and I'm walking to their porch to sit down. So he like, you could walk. So I could like, I feel like I'm walking regular, but I know I'm like dragging myself. Like, and he like, you okay? And I just start throwing up. That's why I had to buy, I owe him a pair of sneakers. I messed up his sneakers because I just started throwing up. And I couldn't stop throwing up. And I didn't know while I was throwing up or whatever. So his mother like, she come downstairs, Brittany, what's wrong with you? I'm just like I can't breathe, like nothing, like what's wrong? So I'm talking to her, and I'm talking to her regular, but she's looking at me like, Brittany, what's wrong with you? And I'm just looking at her like, I'm talking to you, like I'm telling you what's wrong with me, like. And she like put her ear like right here to my mouth, and I realized she couldn't hear nothing that was coming out of my mouth because even though I felt like I was talking, I wasn't saying anything or whatever. So then I start throwing up again. She's like, I'm calling your mother. So she called my mother. My mother live around the corner. So my mother come around the corner. And her and her sister like lift me up, like they was like, come on, Brittany, you got to go to the hospital. So I stood up and then I fell back down because I was so weak. They was like, she can't stand up. So they picked me up and put me in the car. And when I got to the hospital, my mother had to pick me up and put me in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. And at that point, I couldn't feel absolutely anything. Like the last time when I felt something again is when the lady like was messing with my fingers, like telling me to do certain things or whatever like that. But I was still so out of it. And I didn't really come to a conclusion of what happened to me and everything like that until I was in a room. And I was in a room with two other ladies, one that had a stroke 3 years ago and one that's been there for like 9 months. And I was in that room, and that's what happened. I had the stroke, and then when it came down to it, I ended up having a hole in my heart. So I had to be out of work for like 10 months. And then when I finally went back to work, I had to be out of work again because at that point I had to have my heart surgery. And I had to walk around with like a heart monitor on because they had to monitor my thing. That's why I always wear my Apple Watch because it monitors it. And if it's like, if my pulse is going too fast or too slow or something, or if I need to sit down and chill, my watch tell me it's time to sit down. Like or your blood pressure is too high. Like it literally tells me because like my doctor actually helped me program everything that it should be. Oh, wow. And so when it's like too much or too low, I could instantly tell that.
That's good for people to know too, that is a good feature that they can use on their watch. But y'all, so Brittany is at the studio telling us this, and let's go back to Nyla. So we're all sitting there so serious. We're looking at Brittany. Here go Nyla. Mommy, why auntie call your mother? Why didn't nobody call 911? Remember? She was like, and we're all like good point.
Right. Nobody was thinking that.
So that just goes back to Nyla real quick, reminding me of that. But
she never heard the story.
She never heard it. So she's listened to the whole story. And she's just like, but mommy, we're like, what's this little girl gonna say? Why would y'all not call? Like, and then she's like, ask her, and where was I at?
Right,
and we're just like, oh my gosh. But yes.
Right.
So, wow. So looking back, all them Red Bulls you were drinking, I'm sure was not good for your heart.
I won't touch a Red Bull.
No.
Like, I won't touch a Red Bull, no energy drink, no type of nothing. Like, and then my friends will tell you, like, Brittany, give me a Red Bull. I'm not getting you no Red Bull. Like, I'll get you a lemonade or I'll get you something else. I'm not buying nobody no Red Bull. Just because I know that I overdid it with the Red Bulls, but I also know that how not good they are for you.
Yeah.
So that is definitely like any type of energy drink, any type of anything. I don't want no parts.
So you said when you got to the hospital, they had you in a room with somebody that was there for 3 years from something you just experienced. Yep. And then someone who
there for 9 months.
For 9 months.
And they both was older ladies. Like this was me. This was like 3 years ago. So I was like 29, 30. And these old ladies, and they just like, you're so young to be here. What are you doing? All my doctors just kept telling me I'm young, and I'm just looking at them like, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, so how are you going to assist me? Because
So what was your mindset like? Because I know me, like if I'm walking into a situation, okay, I just had this, you've been here for this long. I don't have all this time. I can't be here for 9 months. I can't be here for years. Like, how did it like, were you like defeated in that moment? Or did you feel like, okay, I got to fight for this? Like, how do you remember? Like,
I was scared.
yeah.
I was scared. Every day it was going by, how much more tests y'all got to take? What y'all gonna do?
Yeah.
Do I get out of here today? Do I get out of here tomorrow? Like, I was so pressed to get out, and I ended up having to stay there for a week. And it felt like the longest week of my life.
Especially when you're used to the lifestyle you were living before, not sitting down.
I'm not a sit-down person.
Exactly. Not
even now that I
relaxing.
have to sit down, I'm not a sit-down person. Like, when I feel like I'm sitting down, I feel like it's something that you should be doing. Like, I'm not a
I could be doing something right now.
Like, even if I'm on my phone, just rearranging my notes to fit something, like something's got to give. I got to be doing something.
So in the second part, we're going to learn how Brittany had to make herself sit down, what life looked like for her after that, what self-care routines did you come up with, and what does your life look like today?
Okay.
So we'll be back. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Joy Podcast. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to finding your own joy and left you feeling inspired. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you like what you heard, share it with your circle. It might be just the thing they need. Let's keep growing, glowing, and finding joy together. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember to keep it relaxed, relatable, and real. See you soon.
I can see you making moves. The chosen one, we steady choosing you. She dope as hell, plus she a Libra too. I see your growth, it's amazing. Always evolving on a daily. She got a smile that's contagious. Got hella joy, don't let them take it. I see your passion, I like.
Hello, y'all, and welcome back to another Real Talk. So this Real Talk is going to be a little different. And I'll say that because everything that I talked about in that video, when it comes to me feeling emotions in moments where I would need my mom and talk to my mom, I was immediately rushed with this feeling of emotion after I released that video because I found myself having to make a decision, and I would have loved to have been able to call my mom and for her to make the decision for me. And it's one of those decisions that's going to affect my life. It's going to affect my day-to-day. It's literally going to affect everything. And I'll probably talk about it more when the situation is closed and finalized. Y'all are going to see in real time I almost have like this daze, like that thing when I was talking about when I'm present in the physical, but mentally my mind is somewhere else. So I was going to erase the whole Real Talk that I did because I did my Real Talk initially the day after I filmed the podcast because I wanted all my emotions to still be raw and real, and I still wanted to be in that moment. But when I was faced with those issues that came so abruptly after the filming, I think that it really shows in hindsight like what I'm explaining in the actual podcast episode. So I did not, for the sake of this platform and me wanting to be this example of realness and rawness, I did not delete the videos. I'm going to include the videos in this Real Talk because there was still a message. And often at times, I think that we are so afraid of what's going on when we're telling our message, but I don't want to take away the power of the message because there was a lot of things that I said that I don't think that I could reiterate in the same manner. So I want to keep it. So this is just the intro to my Real Talk. So right now, I'm going to give you guys what the Real Talk was supposed to be. And then I'm going to come back at the end and we have a lot to talk about. But without further ado, you're going to see the real talk that I was meaning to release. So watch that and then meet me right back here and then we'll talk. Okay. So welcome back to our third Real Talk series. By now, I hope that you are here because you watched the grief episode. And I want to say real quick, when it comes to the grief episode, I was thinking after I saw the clips that are used to promote the podcast, I was like, I don't want people to see these clips and automatically assume like this is just another girl telling a sad story. Because that's not the purpose of me telling my story. And I never want to get caught in being a victim or having this victim mentality. But I tell my story so that people can see that there's more if you keep going. That doesn't have to be the end. That could just be the beginning. And sometimes that there is protection in rejection, right? Like sometimes things don't work out or you're not accepted in certain spaces or you're not because you don't fit there and you're meant to kind of go outside of that box and to find your own or to create your own lane. So I definitely feel like I want to push past the tears and the hurt because I want people to understand the message on the other side of that. So that's how I feel about that. And I just wanted to start off this video by saying that because I felt a way, like there was a whole video clip that I didn't want to share because it was like me crying. And I felt like, dang, I don't want people to just see me crying and think I'm looking for sympathy or like looking for someone to just feel bad for me. That's not what it is. I want y'all to know, like, at one point in time, I was broken. At one point in time, I was down bad. Like, and I did not ever see myself pushing through to have my own podcast. I never saw myself in those moments, pushing through those hard moments to be owning my own business, to just make it past that moment. And I want this to encourage people who are in moments where they don't see past it and where they feel like I'm never coming out of this. There's no point in me coming out of this because no one believes in me. No one cares to see me push past this. And you just feel so lonely that you can't see anything else other than where you're at. This is specifically for you. You're going to get through it if you keep going. It's not going to be easy. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen the next day. But if you have a purpose, if you feel this passion, first of all, everybody has purpose. You just have to find what your purpose is. Never give up on figuring that out. Never give up on a passion. Never give up on something that has been placed in your heart with this burning desire. Never give up on that because that's the thing that's going to keep you going. I was trying to do this when I was homeless. I remember being in situations where something bad had just happened to me and I was setting up a camera and telling my story. I didn't understand why, but that is what kept me going. The fact that I felt like I'm going through this because somebody else needs to see this. Some days that was my sole purpose. It wasn't even about me. It was about whoever was on the other end looking at that video because I wanted to save someone else for feeling like me in the midst of me feeling that way myself. So, but let's get into this episode of grief. I know y'all see our girl. I got my mic. So I feel like when I talked about my family dynamic, I didn't really explain, like I know I said in the second part, I'm gonna explain where I'm at today with my family and different things like that, but I never really got into it. And I feel like because I got so caught up on the journal and talking about that, but I wanna kind of shed light to where I'm at today with my family, right? Because I feel like from my family's perspective, they definitely know that I don't rock with them, right? But I don't think they understand why. And I think that people don't understand when you force someone to live and survive without you, when they get on the other side of that, you're not needed anymore. And I think that people don't realize why, if you couldn't stay down with me through my bad, why do you deserve this other person? Why do you deserve the other side of that? Because on the other side of that person, I had to fight to be this person. I had to, yeah, I had to fight to be this person. So if you weren't around during that fight, if you didn't contribute to that fight, if you didn't push me through, if you didn't feed life into me, if you weren't someone who was driving that passion out of me, if you weren't someone who was checking on me to make sure that everything, if I needed some encouragement, if you used that time to beat me down when I was already down, you're not going to be around when I am making my way up. And I say that to say there's no animosity, there's no hate. But I say this all the time. I have to leave people at where they got weird with me. And if you got weird with me or you counted me out, at a certain point, you have to stay there and you have to watch me elevate without you. And that's how I feel when it comes to my family. I still love them, but it gets to a certain point in life that you have to see people for who they are, or you'll end up hurting yourself trying to see the potential in people or trying to see the good in people, because sometimes that good is only 25% of somebody. And I think sometimes too, when people know you personally, it's hard for them to see you go through these battles and come out a different person, because it triggers something in them that, why didn't they do it for themselves? Especially when they have gone through similar things that you have gone through. It almost frustrates people, or it ignites this anger that, okay, so if she did it, why can't I do it? And I feel like sometimes that makes people uncomfortable and they react in different ways. I feel like that's what makes people act out, and they don't feel comfortable around you, so they attack you. They project different things on you. And I just feel like I'm just at that space where I gotta fight for me and mine. And if you're trying to feed my downfall, I can't have you around. That's how I feel. So I say all that to say, when it comes to my family, I'm very careful, very, very careful. I tried to reconnect with certain individuals in my family, but it's hard because I hear my mom's voice in my head, and the things that she used to say about people, or the things she tried to warn me about people, I'm starting to see it for myself. And sometimes these are people that I even try to defend to her. And I tried to stick up for them because I didn't want to see who they were. And she would try to tell me all the time, no, like, and if you think about it, these are people that I was young, I was 20, so she was trying to explain things to me, people she knew her whole life for 40 or 50 years. So now it's like I have to take her word for it because she's not here to protect me. So now I have to protect me and mine. When it comes to my daughter, she's not close to my family at all. She doesn't really know who my family is. She knows of certain people, but she doesn't have a relationship with anyone in my family. And that's kind of done strategic too, to protect her from the things that I had to go through with my family. And I also often say, like, family, I feel like I've picked my family. So I've recreated that family structure for her so she's not missing out or lacking anything. I feel like family is more than blood, because sometimes the people who you share blood with and you share this DNA or a last name or whatever it is, people feel like they can do you a certain way because at the end of the day, oh, we're family. This is just how we are. Oh, you got to forgive this person because that's this. No, everybody needs to like respect your boundaries. Everybody needs to respect you. So I don't feel that way, that you just got to deal with people because they're family. And I felt that guilt for a while. People used to be like, but that's your da 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 da. But that's your. Okay, well, they knew that I was their cousin. They knew that I was their niece. They knew that I was their granddaughter. and they chose to say certain things or treat me a certain way. So why do I have to remember who they are in order to, it's like almost I have to give up my boundaries and my peace in order to remain at a close proximity to people. And I just realized that it wasn't worth it. I can't speak for other people, but me being around isn't worth my peace or my sanity. And that's what I had to realize. So I wish them all the best. And I still love them. Like I said, we have so many great memories when I was a child. I have so many great memories with my family, but I hold on to those memories in space of me making new ones with them. So that's what I'll say for that. Another thing with my family too, like when I said certain things, I don't know if I got into it where I was like, there was family members that was trying to hold my mom to a certain standard with me of like, oh, don't help her do that, or don't help her with this, or she needs to be an adult. But I have aunts and uncles that literally have been taking care of their kids in jail, while their kids were in jail for their whole life, and then they came out of jail and they're still taking care of them. But they were in my mom's ear to not take care of me and not to help me. Or certain people who have enabled their kids and who literally pay their bills and they're alcoholics and drug addicts, but was holding my mom to a certain standard to not do certain things for me. Or so when it comes to things like that, it's often times where like people hold you to something that they can't even do for themselves. And I think that when that can't be talked about, that's another issue I have when it comes to the older generation. We can never talk about things that are actually like out of respect and out of, oh, that's just the way things are. Well, that doesn't work for me. Like if we're not going to be able to talk about the reality of situations, then I can't be around. So that was another part of my grieving when I didn't get to talk about where my anger was coming from, because it's like everybody wants to be like, oh, you're an adult, oh, you're grown, so you have to like figure this out by yourself. So why can't you let your 40-year-old son who's in prison figure it out for himself? Or your son who's an alcoholic, who you pay all their bills and you even give him toilet paper to wipe his ass. Why can't he figure out? But y'all expect me to figure out at 20 as a single mom. You know what I mean? So that was something else that I didn't really get to talk about. And when we go back to the funeral too, I think because I had this anger towards my family, during the funeral, like I said, I was very much isolated. I was very much alone. On the way to the funeral, there was a family car, and it was me, my grandma, my aunt, and even down to that, like they were arguing, and it was a big deal about who I wanted in the family car to support me. Oh, why do they get to ride in the family car? I don't want them in the family car. We're going to a funeral. Like, why are we arguing about who's going to be in the family car? Like, it was just certain things like that that just make you lose respect for people, because it's this me mentality, not thinking, okay, if this person being in the family car is going to help her get through this day, let's just allow it. Because at the end of the day, this is her mother's funeral. Certain things like that, it just didn't sit well with me, and I don't think there's anywhere I can cut. If I'm real with myself, once people reveal themselves, it's hard to like come back from moments like that. So I say all these things to kind of explain the history of my family dynamic and why I am just at the point where it's like, I love y'all, but y'all got to stay over there, respectfully. Also, speaking about grief, I think this also goes back to understanding that before my mom passed, I was one person. After my mom passed, it turned me into a whole different person. And I won't say it's negative, because I definitely feel like before my mother passed, I was very spoiled. I didn't have any work ethic. I was immature. And two, we're talking about me being in my early 20s, so that makes sense. But I didn't have this mentality that I have now. I was very naive, and I might have became this person as time went on because I'm 32 now, and I'm talking about the 24-year-old version of myself. So that does make sense now that I'm thinking about it. I do have to give myself that grace, but I feel like grief just turns you into a different person. The lessons that you learn through grief, the dark place that you have to pull yourself out of, I think that that also plays a part in grief as well. So it really turns you into someone else, I would say. And I have to fight to be around people. I have to push myself out of, because I could be a loner. I can isolate myself. I thrive. I thrive in situations where it's just me, where I can just be alone. When doing stuff like this is why I thrive, because I literally just have to do it with me. Kind of like group projects in school, like, right? Like, I'm not the group project type where I don't want to collab. I do want to collab. Let me not say that I don't, but like, it's easier to just like do things by myself. I'll say that. So, I definitely feel like it's a struggle for me to push myself past who I am comfortable in being. And it's so crazy because I used to be such an extrovert. I used to be a people's person, and I was always the girl who made people laugh. But now it's just like, I be chilling. I used to be the girl who wanted everyone to love her and to like her. I want to be everybody's friend. And now I'm like, people will be introducing people, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Like, hey. My comfort is in being alone. So yeah. But that episode was like really, what I'm noticing too? Sometimes it's really hard for me to articulate how I feel and to use the right words in the moment, because I'm so used to like not expressing how I feel and not expressing my emotions. So sometimes when y'all hear me say like, or I'm repeating myself, or I'm like using the wrong words, I think that it's just me fighting my inner self, like me trying to push past just suppressing what I have to say. Because a lot of times when I'm in conflict with someone, or like when I'm just talking, or when I'm defending myself, or when I'm trying to express myself, I shut down. So this platform is really pushing me to put words to my feelings. So the same way that I'm creating this platform to help other people, I'm starting to see that a lot of this is for self as well. Like, a lot of this is pushing me to places I didn't realize I needed to go. So that's interesting in this journey as well. But if you're here, I know I keep saying this and I don't want to be repetitive in my words, but I really want to say thank you, because you're like watching a journey of someone who was just following their passion. And that's really what it is. Like, I am really just feeding a passion, and just the journey from the first episode to now, I see a change, and it's been a month. And that's exciting to me. Like, I think they always say the thing in life that brings you the most joy is when you can do something and not have to worry about the the outcome of it. Like, I'm not worried about how much I make an episode or how many things. No, like, I love to show up and do this. This is what brings me life. This is what brings me joy. This is what brings me happiness, doing this, like connecting with people, inspiring people, speaking life into people. So I'm happy that y'all are a part of that journey and that you're here with me. Okay, so you just watched what I was saying, and I probably didn't have to explain it. Y'all would have saw it for yourself, what I'm talking about. I was just very much in a daze, trying to figure out so many things at one time. My mental is just like jumping all over. But a couple things I want to. So when I said rejection is protection, what I meant was the fact that I was just rejected by, I know we haven't got to the episode on church hurt yet, and my outlook on the church that I was involved in at the time and just the people in the church and the whole situation. But I was rejected from the church. I felt like, in my opinion, I was rejected from the church. I was rejected from my family. I was rejected from a lot of friends around me. And I often say rejection was my biggest protection because who I am today, this person in all that I'm doing now, I would have never been able to blossom into this person today because you cannot heal and transform around the people who are continually hurting you, who are continually looking down on you, who are continually speaking nothing but like everything but life into you. And I do believe that me moving to Connecticut was like the biggest blessing. Like when I tell you the support system that I have here, just it's like night and day completely. And that's why everyone says like sometimes you got to get out of your hometown. And that's how I felt. I also feel like with my family, when you're talking about the older generation, I do believe that they're very toxic because they see everything as disrespect when you're calling them out on things that matter or the things that have taken place. They like to hide from it and they like to just throw, oh, don't be disrespectful. And that was always my problem, honestly, growing up. That was something that my mom used to tell me because if something was going on and I heard her talking about it behind closed doors, when it was time when everyone got together, I'm the one that said, okay, so why did you say that? Why did you do that? My mom used to be like, shh, shh, shh. And it's like, no, like, I want to know why is this stuff being done? But that was always disrespectful. So I've always had a problem with that as a child. But I think that just that toxicity, like I know I did A, B, and C to you, but we're family, so let's just sit down and enjoy this meal together and let's not talk about it. I don't like that. I'm just not that type of person. Like before I sit down and break bread with you or before I continue in being in this like closeness with you, we gotta talk about what happened before so it cannot happen again or that I can know what I did, you did, you know. And my family is really not into that. They're just so toxic. Like it's just so toxic. And I would say, especially with the older generation, like my aunts and my grandmother, and like I remember even when after all this was taking place, my mom passed away at the end of September, and my grandma and my aunt went to go spend the first Christmas that my mom was gone with my mom's husband. And when I finally came around, when I stopped making everything about me and I finally came around to my family, you know, sometimes I have these moments where I feel bad and I'll try to pop in on my family and be like, hey, and it's always just like, this is why. This is why I don't deal with y'all. Like every time I try to extend myself, every time I try to, it's just like, this is why. And I was starting to like tell my grandma how I felt and she cut me off like she couldn't even hear me. And she was just like, okay, well, all that's in the past. I just want to move on. We just need to enjoy each other. We just need to like, and it's like, I don't think that's how that works. So that's what I mean when I say rejection is protection because thank God I would have went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs if I would have never left Rocky Mount. I would have became everything that everyone was saying I was. I would have, because when people have their mind made up about you, it's a done deal. I don't care what you do. I don't care how far you become from that. They're going to have their mind made up because that's what they see. And the people around them that are on the same agenda as them, they're going to validate you. When people have their mind made up, you just have to walk away. And I think I got to that point in my family, like, I'm not trying to prove y'all right no more. I'm not trying to prove y'all wrong. It is what it is. And I remember when I first started my The Real Joy journey, I remember like posting stuff. And I remember one time I like made this post like, I survived everything. Oh, yeah. But it was more in the sense of like, I want to prove people wrong. Like, But this journey is so different when I took a step back and I really did the healing. And then I came back to do this. Like, this is not to prove people wrong. This is like, does it feel good? Of course. But is my sole purpose to show like you were wrong about me? Like, no. Sometimes, like, this is so you think about this. I'm talking about stuff that's happened in 2018, 2019. It is now 2025. Sometimes you got to go on and live your life and let people think what they want to think. And it'll show. That's all I got to say. Sometimes you have to go on and live your life and let people believe and let people think what they want. But it's going to show your journey, your path, where you end up, how God blesses you, how everything it's going to show. So I say all that to say, I hope I encourage somebody. Sometimes don't tell your story. It'll all come out in the end. Just ask God to order your steps through it, give you the grace and mercy to continue to go on about your journey in a way. And it's not easy. It's not easy to turn your ear or to turn your cheek when people are saying things about you that's not true, when people are attacking your character, when people are attacking you as a child, as a daughter, when people are attacking you as a mother, when people are attacking you as a person. It's not easy. But God. I'm going to leave that right there. So glad that I waited to do this real talk, like this part of it, because like I say, y'all, I have been going back and forth about a decision this week. And yesterday, Jamie was like, you want to go to church with me? And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, I need to go to church. Because like I said, I have some church hurt from the past, and I can't wait to do my episode on that. And I feel like I've been hesitant to just like join a church, be a part of a church. But let me tell you, the confirmation that I got last night at that church service. First of all, y'all heard me just say in this episode that was filmed on Monday. I filmed that on Monday when I was talking about how I thrive in isolation and I thrive in being by myself. Y'all, this pastor don't know me from nothing. I was worshiping, I was praising in the service. So at the end of the service, he's wrapping up. He's about to give his benediction. He's about to take up the offering. He says, you right there, the young lady sitting next to Sister Jamie, raise your hand. God told me to tell you.
Young lady that's with Sister Jamie, just lift your hands for a moment. I wasn't going to do this. I told God, I said, God, if she comes back, I'll tell her. What the Lord told me, he said, you might never get another opportunity. Nothing bad about you, but said that I may never get another opportunity. And it's up to me to be obedient to what the Spirit of the Lord says. The Lord says to tell you that this is your season to trust him again. And some of the issues that you've been dealing with in life has been people issues. We all have people issues. We all have trust issues. But the Lord says that this is a season where he wants you to see that he brought you out of it. And there's been many times where, because of the situations of your past, where you have put yourself in what I want to call the isolation box. If I stick to me, if I stick to myself, and I stick to I won't have to deal with what I dealt with before. But God said that was really a preparation season for you. It was to toughen you up. It was to cause you to have thick skin for this next season of your life that you are about to enter. And I dare tell you that you're about 2 years behind where you're supposed to be. And so let this be a release for you in this season that God says, yes, I called you. Yes, I've ordained you for a season and a time such as this. No longer hiding behind the shame of what was, but living in the glory and the expectation of what is to come. I want you to be blessed. I want you to live in freedom, no longer walking in fear, but being free in who God has called you to be. I need somebody to clap your hands for sis.
I said, what? Y'all, that right there, ain't no way. You cannot tell me God is not real. You cannot tell me God is not real. I said, oh, wow. And it's crazy because he said I'm 2 years behind in the situation that I'm talking about that I've been going back and forth with. I've been going back and forth with for 2 years. Child, I said, wow. I said, wow. But I say all that to say your girl is going to work on her isolation because he said that loud and clear. And I said, oh, okay. I hear you, God. I hear you, mighty man of God. Podcast journal is live, y'all. Let me see if I can pull it up, actually. For the podcast journal. Isn't it so beautiful? So right now, because you're watching this, because you've been here with me, because you're locked in with me, this journal is only $8.99. You can download it. You can use it on your iPad. You can print it out. You can gift it to someone, but it's only $8.99. The price will increase. This is just for the week because I want to give you guys a chance before I release it to the public. This is just for my day one. Because I feel like everybody who watches this, who watches the Real Talk series, y'all are day ones. Like, y'all really locked in. Like, we here. That's so y'all get the real, the tea, the exclusive. But yes. And I'm also going to do a podcast scavenger hunt. So it's going to be questions from all the episodes. So I'm going to see how really locked in you are. We're going to do a giveaway. It's going to be a podcast scavenger hunt. I'm going to have, let's see, I'm going to do 3 winners. And you can receive a free copy of the journal. So it's going to be questions about all the episodes. I think like 10 questions. I'm going to work on that for y'all. I will have it to y'all. Me and deadlines. You know what? I'm going to release that tomorrow. I'm saying it, so I'm going to do it. Sometimes you just got to put it out there. It will be done. I'm going to make a video for tomorrow with the questions for the podcast scavenger hunt. Okay. But yes, y'all, I really hope that y'all can really see how committed I am to making sure that I come to this platform real and vulnerable and really giving myself to you guys, because that's what this platform is for. And I really want to stay true to that, because I think that that helps y'all really understand the journey and makes you keep coming back every time. Like, but yeah, we will see you next week. We are going to be having an episode. The next episode is going to be on mental health, the effects of mental health, coping mechanisms, the signs, all that. And then I'm going to follow up with the episode with a therapist. So I'm going to have a therapist coming on the podcast who's going to talk about, from her perspective of being, in the field in a clinical role, talk about the effect of grief and mental health, and share some coping skills and just share some information, some good stuff with us. She's going to give some facts for our feelings. So I'm excited about that, y'all. But thank you. I just want to say, go get your journal. Tag me when you get your journal. Comment. I got mine. Take a picture of you using the journal. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
I can see you making moves. The chosen one, we steady chosen you. She dope as hell, plus she a Libra too. I see your growth, think it's amazing. Always evolving on a daily. She got a smile that's contagious. Got hella joy, don't let them take it. I see your passion, I like.
So this is gonna be like a unplugged, a raw, I think I'm gonna call it like the real talk or something, you know, like the real, because this is how I started, you know, like before the production and before everything, I was putting up my phone and having conversations with y'all. So I don't want that element to be taken away. So this is gonna be added to the podcast. So let's talk about the first episode. I will say after the first episode was dropped, I was left feeling so uneasy because it's not always easy telling your truth and telling your story because other people are involved in that story. And my goal is to never attack anybody or hurt anybody by telling my truth. But it comes to a point in time where you can't protect people who didn't protect you. You know, and I had to keep reminding myself that, like, you're trying to, when you're going in a certain direction in life or when you're going down a different path, at some point you're gonna have to take a moment and tell your truth and tell your story. Because what if that is attached to healing? What if that's attached to other opportunities? Like, our stories are attached to so much. And I just think that sometimes we get into the habit of staying quiet, of suppressing ourselves, you know, and I just got tired of it. And my goal is not to hurt anybody. My goal is not to have people looking at people different. That's not my goal. Like, my goal is to be true to who I am and to my journey and to control my narrative, you know, like take ownership of my story, because people will tell your story, but who's better to tell your story than you? So that's what I've learned. That's basically the takeaway. I had like such an uneasy feeling, right? Because everybody has a version of the story, right? And somebody's story, something I said, I could be the villain in their story. They could have a whole different perspective, but that doesn't take away from my perspective. You know, so you're left with all these different feelings but yes. If you have a story that needs to be told, if you think that it can change people's life, if you think it can encourage somebody, if you think it can inspire somebody, like, that's your testimony. Do not be afraid to tell your story, because I feel like your story is out there. It has happened. But what are you going to do with it now? And I just feel like sometimes people try to shame you or try to make you feel, you know, and it's like, everybody got a little something. I don't care who you are. I don't care where. Everybody has a little something. Some of us did it in private. Some of us, you know what I'm saying? But everybody has something. And like they used to say down south, well, keep on living. If it ain't happened to you yet, keep living. It's a lot of people out here who can literally feel validated off of your experiences in life, because everybody feels like they the only ones that this happened to. Nothing has ever happened. Then you start listening to people. You start sharing stories. You're like, you too? Oh my gosh, you went through this? So what if that's your purpose on this earth? You think you went through that situation to go through it? Like, it was just, oh, I was just supposed to go. No, that's not how life works. Everything that we go through brings us closer to who we're supposed to be, to our purpose, to the reason we're put here. So I hope this encourages somebody to tell your story, living your truth, walk with your head up. I don't care what they saying. I don't care what you did. I don't care. Learn your lesson, take the L and move on. But tell your story. First episode, was really interesting to sit there and I think it's so hard to tell your story when your story has happened over years and different places. It's hard to get that into 20, 30 minutes. So there's a lot of details that's missing, which I hope can come up later on with different subjects. Like maybe I'll revisit something, I'll reference it and kind of give more context to the situation but the first episode for me was really good. If you're new here, I really hope that you got a chance to really understand the journey and how I got here. And then for y'all, there's a lot of people who have known me personally or just have like been on my social media for a long time who didn't know a lot of things about me. And I think it's funny because a lot of y'all keep getting caught up on like the Irish step dancer thing. I think that is so funny that y'all are getting caught up on that because that's hilarious to me. But yes, so that is that. This second episode with Kalani's dad. So this is the first episode that I've had with the co-host. And I really loved the conversation. I think that I really love having somebody there to kind of the energy and feed off of. But I will say it was different for me too, because I guess it's all about controlling the narrative again, right, of your story. And you feel like something is your story. But when you're adding somebody to it, it's their perspective. It's things that you never heard them say. It's things that they could just be feeling in that moment now. So I think in that episode, a lot of times y'all see me like thinking because like we maneuvered in this like positive way without having these conversations. And even when me and him were talking, he was like, we were both excited and thankful at the end of it because there was a lot of things like when he was saying my mama told him stuff and they was having conversations. I never knew that. He told me that he felt like there was a lot of things that he said that I felt but was never confirmed. And it's kind of like that thing where people say how you have to move on in life and go through life without getting that apology or without getting that confirmation of how somebody feels. You just have to continue to move on. I feel like I did that. And the woman I am today was like hurting for the girl then. You know what I'm saying? Was hurting because I knew that. I knew that to be true. I knew all the feelings and all that, but like, it just brought me back there. And I wouldn't say triggered, right? But it definitely like, I'm proud of who I am today, but I hurt for that girl then, so that was huge for me. And I think that was such a powerful episode because so many things got talked about when it comes to our past, when it comes to us really like talking about the downfall to our relationship, because I think sometimes when we're going through something, you don't have time to sit there and process it, or these conversations aren't being had. So it was just so much confirmation. It was just so much confirmation for real. I will say that and y'all too, y'all gonna see I love humility and I love being humble but I will say it feels so good to prove people wrong. And it's so crazy how people could have their mind made up about you and you just don't end up that. You know what I'm saying? It's just so crazy how in your heart that you're destined to do something. You're destined to be different and your path might not look like everybody else. And that used to make me so mad in different areas of life I would be like, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just go work this corporate job, go to work, shut up, don't be a problem, don't be a menace. If you don't want to do it, just do it anyway. I could never just be the girl that just sit there, shut up, and do the work. No, I had to say, well, that's not right. Why are y'all treating so-and-so like this? Why are y'all doing this? Why are y'all doing that? But now I look back and I realize why I couldn't be that person. because I was supposed to be here, because I was supposed to be doing this, because I was supposed to be doing hair, because I'm supposed to be doing makeup. Like, there's so many things now that, like, in this season, it's healing that girl in me, because I just would get so frustrated with myself, and I would start believing what people say about me. Like, dang, like, I can't get it figured out. I don't know. I'm just supposed to, like, I don't know. Like, I just can't get it figured out. And I will say the one thing, how I feel now with everybody, just like, even that episode with him, right? Like, I think he said in one part, like, I just realized that, like, we weren't going in the same places. Like, you didn't want what I wanted. And that was true. I didn't want to be a professional student. I didn't want to be under the structure of school, and I didn't. But that came across as me not being smart enough, or me not being good enough, or me, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, now being in this realm of things, I just, like, I can't explain it. I'm just so happy that I finally got to see why I'm different. I finally get to see why my brain doesn't operate like others, why I see things different, why I hear things different, why I'm such a thinker, why I feel, because you're creative. Like, you're supposed to be a creator, you know, like I'm wired differently, and that's okay. And I think a lot of people can attest to that, because I know, even looking back, and I have a lot of friends that are like musicians and that are, you know, they don't have that structured 9 to 5, and you feel crazy at first. Like, you feel crazy, but it's a good crazy, because look where it takes you, you know? So, and then it kind of had me feeling too, of this feeling of, dang, I wish my mama got to see, like, what I did with that. Like, I feel like there was a one point in time where she was just like, I remember she said to me, like, you are wasting your potential, or like, you're a waste of potential, or something like that, because I couldn't get it together. I couldn't stay doing the 9 to 5 thing, and I just could not do it, y'all. Like, I would just go to work, and I would try so hard, and I'd be like, why she talking to me like that? Why can't you respect me if you want me to respect you? Why I gotta raise my hand and ask to go to the bathroom like when in school? Why can't you belittle me? Like, it just did not make sense to me. So I just wish that my mom could see me in this realm. I really wish that she could have just understood my brain and my mind. Like, I just wish she could have seen this version of me, you know, like, and I think that keeps me going, because I'm like, I did have potential, you know what I'm saying? I did. And we have to be careful of the things we speak on people, because words last a lifetime. And we just really have to be careful with that. But that episode was really cool. I think the other thing too about that episode, I think if y'all saw the second part and we talking about Indiana, when I tell you we was out in Indiana getting it out the mud, I remember we took the bus to go grocery shopping. We would have the groceries in the bottom of the stroller with us carrying the bags. We was loading up tax. Like, when I say we was both getting out the mud, like, I didn't want it to seem like I just went to Indiana and everything was set up like a road of gold just was laid out for me. And I was just able to go, like, no. Like, we was walking to the gas station to get them big Texas chicken sandwiches that was $2. That was a Friday treat. We got paid on Friday. We was getting it out the mud together. We were struggling together. So I think there was a lot of that where it was just like, dang, like, I look back and I'm like, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have said that. I just wish that my grind level was was more appreciated. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a down chick. I was a ride or die. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we not eating lobster and crabs, but I'm gonna walk to this gas station with you and we gonna eat this chicken sandwich and we gonna laugh, we gonna joke, we gonna talk on the way there and back. You know what I'm saying? Like, but again, that's my perspective. So I definitely think it was a good conversation. I definitely love that Kalani could see her parents, you know, in this element and in this light, because she never got a chance to have us under the same roof. We didn't get to raise her in the same house. So I think that that's a little different. But what else from that episode can I talk about? So there's a part, I know everybody keeps asking me, there was a part that people were confused about where we were talking and he said like, I didn't know your mom was sick. I didn't know your mom was sick. And I just want to be clear on that because I know a lot of people are like confused about that because that's like been the thing where people have been hitting me up like, wait, so the clarity on my mom being sick, my mom was not sick at the time. And it was more so of a thing where my mom, so here's the timeline. I went to college in 2010. My mom worked at that college from 2010 to 2011. In 2011, she moved back to North Carolina, where then she met her ex, and I'll get into that later, but she met her ex, they started dating again, and she eventually got married. So there was this transition because I was raised by a single mother, right? Because it was just us for like forever. And then because I was in college, when I came back home, it was a little different because I had to adjust to her being married. I had to adjust to, it was a lot of adjustment, I would say. So it's not that we just never coexisted in a space with someone else in our dynamic, right? And your mom or your parent, they might have a certain grace for you, a certain patience for you. They might do things a certain way with you. You might have, but when somebody else gets added to that, now they're in that person's ear, like, why you allow your daughter to do this? Why your daughter doing that? But so a lot of times our issues came from that. It came from somebody not understanding the dynamic that my mom and I had. And I'll keep it real. I was spoiled. I was very spoiled. I was the only child. It was me and my mom. I was very spoiled. There was a lot of things that my mom saved me from. I remember when I was an adult, my bank account, she would move the money from my savings to my check-ins to make sure that my bills got paid. She would see if my account was in a negative and she would slide some money over there. Like, I'm going to be listen, real, relaxed, relatable. Okay? The real. That's the real. So when somebody else comes into that, they looking at it and they're like, why you doing all that for your daughter? She grown. She could do that herself. Stop doing this for her. Stop doing that for her. I remember when I first went to Indiana, I didn't have time to transfer my WIC from North Carolina to Indiana. So my mom would go to the WIC office and get my stuff from WIC and mail it to me in Indiana. He felt like she was doing too much for her daughter. Why are you taking this responsibility for this grown woman? So that caused us to have some, you know what I'm saying? Some conflict. So when he says, oh, your mom, you know, yeah, me and my mom, we were not at the best of terms when I left to go to Indiana because she felt like I made an emotional decision based off of what her and her husband was doing at the time. But at the time I lived with my mom and it just, with him being there, I'm not calling this man dad. I'm 20 something years old. I'm gonna call him by his name. That was the problem. So then I just stopped saying the man's name. I'd be like, hey, can you, because I'm not calling you dad, that's crazy. But that's how I felt. And then it was just a lot of different stuff. I would say that. So when we talk about that at the end of the thing where she's like, you know, where he was saying like, you know, I didn't know all that was going on with your mom. like we said, we didn't go out there and that was my boo, that was my boyfriend. That was Kalani's dad, and we was trying to figure out how to co-parent together. So I wasn't telling nobody that stuff because I also didn't want to paint my mom out in this bad image. Like, I didn't, that was my girl. What? And it's so crazy now because people can see stuff from the outside, right? Like, I know my family and different people have like such their own version of what happened with me and my mom. But at the end of the day, that was me and my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't know. Y'all only know what she got on the phone and told y'all, or y'all only know what y'all thought. But that was my best friend. Like, there's so much tea that I know that my mom used to tell me about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was another piece to it. Like, now that I'm older, yes, that's my mom, but that was also my friend. So it was like it's just growing pains. And like, now that I'm a mother of a 10-year-old, I can even see her at 10, how our relationship is evolving and how it's, so with all that being said, that's what I mean when I say, like, I think I said I got mad. I was like, yeah, everybody was treating me like shit. Like, that's what I mean by that. It's just like, it was like a lot going on. But now looking back and being a full adult at 32, right? You're talking about a 20-year-old. Now I'm 32, I'm looking back. I don't think it was everybody treating me like shit. I think it was more so people wanting me to step into this, like, you're an adult now. You have a child. You need to be responsible for yourself. You need to be responsible for your decisions. If you want to go move to Indiana, you should have figured out how to get your WIC and everything before you skipped your ass to Indiana. That's what an adult would do. Make sure that you tie up your loose ends before you make a decision. And I can look back and say that now, as an adult, right? But like, I think I would drive my kid to Indiana. Yeah, I would be sending my daughter to WIC, from North Carolina to Indiana. I'm sitting in the WIC. I'm sitting in the WIC. But yeah, what else? I think, I don't want to say too much because I know part 3 is coming out next week. So I definitely want y'all to stick around for that. And then I'll do another one of these sit downs next week where we'll talk and, you know. But yeah, I definitely don't want to take this element away because I love the podcast. The podcast is eating. I love it. I hope y'all love it. But I'm not going to take away this intimacy, you know, this like me just getting on camera and talking to y'all directly, without any edits, without any lights, camera, action, without the team, because that does add a different element to it, you know. So yeah, look forward. I know I say this all the time, but I really mean it. I promise I mean it, y'all. It's 2025. I'm really gonna get into vlogging. So I had my Florida vlog when I went to Florida to see my friends in Florida. I had that vlog, but my phone, this phone that I'm on right now, I went to Apple. It was shutting on, shutting off over and over and over again. Went to Apple. They ended up giving me a new phone. Great. I had an iCloud, right? So I'm like, oh, cool. Erase the phone. I'm going to log into my iCloud. I did not realize that my iCloud had 3 different iClouds connected. I don't know how that happens. Be careful, because I didn't know I had 3 different iClouds. I logged into one iCloud. Everything has popped up from this iCloud. But the other iClouds, they're saying my password is incorrect. Then when I go to reset it, it's sending the reset to a whole different phone number that I don't even have. Understand? Great. So yeah. If anybody knows how to fix that, I don't know if there's any Apple savvy people out there, but I need help because I need my other iClouds real bad. I have so many vlogs, and that, you know what? That's what I get, because if I would have uploaded them when I was supposed to upload them, it wouldn't have mattered. So that's a lesson learned. But yeah. I thank y'all for being here. Like, so serious. Like, it means so much to me, y'all being here and just supporting me. Like, it's so many people like I haven't talked to in so long, from college, from childhood, from family and everybody reaching out. The love is real. And I think that that's what we mean. Like when you get older, you might not be locked in with people the same way, but we all supporting each other. I love seeing y'all win. Let me take a time to say this. We don't gotta be best friends. We don't gotta talk every day, but I want to see you win. So I thank you for pouring into me and supporting me, because the same way you supporting me, that's you telling me that you want to see me win. I want the same thing for you too. I just want to put that out there. But yeah, let me go ahead and end this before I be doing too much. But yes, thank y'all. This is the new thing we're gonna do. So tune in with me. Make sure y'all subscribe. Subscribe so y'all will know when I'm dropping stuff like this, because it's not just gonna be Wednesday at 12. I'm gonna talk to y'all all the time. Y'all gotta get the behind the scenes. Oh, and maybe I'll do like a let me know in the comments if y'all want to see a tour of my studio. It's a little sneak. Don't look too much. Don't do too much. If y'all want to see a little sneak peek, that's where I do the makeup head over there, you know. So if you're in the Connecticut area, you need your makeup done. But okay, y'all, I'm about to go because, okay. Bye, y'all. Make sure you subscribe so you will know when I'm coming to talk to you. Oh, and what are we gonna be? All right, I got my cousins, I got my friends, I got the Joyettes. Like, let me know. We need to get a name for our community because we're locked in. I'm not going nowhere. Bye.
Take it. I see you.